1 game down, 5 to go for day 1 here in the season finals for the World Championship Series. Joining us on the desk this time, of course, is In Control and Rotterdam. We'll come talk to you boys in a quick second. But let's check in with the bracket back at home. There's a lot of new people tuning in. We've started with map number 1, and we are going to game number 2. Here is the bracket. We already have our first player going to the winners match, playing on Saturday. Later today, sorry. Zanster plays later today. Mana plays on Thursday in the elimination game. Completely nailed that one, boys. Absolutely nailed that one. Rotterdam, a great start for Zanster. We talked about it on the desk a little bit early on, but he shoots into that winners match to play in our next game after the one currently coming up.
Absolutely, and if you look at who he's going to play as well, either Elfie or MarineLorD, like his CVT is excellent. I've been very impressed with his CVT in the past. Like I mentioned his APM a little bit. For the people who don't have access to all the numbers, on general, Zanster like averages 320, 330 APM, and I feel you really see that in some of his longest CVTs. You know, I'm not going to say that he's live because he's not, but he does kind of have some similarities in the play. So he's always running around, always active, always trying to punish his opponent. So yeah, this looks very promising for Zanster if he does actually play MarineLorD, because MarineLorD has his own work cut out for him.
That's right. He goes up against the wild card of this group. It's Elfie.
Well, I've always been a guy who wants to compete in everything. That's the reason why I got into the StarCraft 2. If StarCraft 2 didn't have any competitions, then I wouldn't have started playing it. The reason why I started playing StarCraft 2, it was totally because it's the biggest competitive game at that point. So that was the only choice pretty much why I started playing it. People are always saying I'm too slow. Well, I wouldn't say it like that. I just don't spam that much, but I think I'm really good at thinking what I should do against whom. You are playing this game to win. You can do anything you want, any tactic you want, any number of times you want. You just have to get the win one way or another.
A character that's been in StarCraft for a long time now. Elfie is no player that you can ever count out.
I mean, we keep saying wild card, but honestly, it aptly fits everything about him. The fact that he's here, he was actually eliminated, but he came in as a replacement, and then hilariously made it out of the round of 32 into the round of 16. Here he is. He's a storied European Protoss player who has been doing it in so many different weird ways. I mean, I remember back to Rotterdam, Mr. Bitter talking a lot about how slow he was, how weird, but he still got it done. And I love that they asked him that question in his interview, and he says, hey, it's all about winning. I don't care how many times I have to do what to get there. I'm going to do it.
A little bit of Vin Diesel there, man. It doesn't matter if you win by an inch or a mile, you know. But the funny thing about Elfie is that he also had one of the most memorable games in the round of 32. Like that game he played against Kalazur, if you would have told me that was Rain or Classic playing, I would have believed you, you know. He sniped like 7 or 8 metavacs. They were full of bio. Was everywhere on any given moment. It was insane. And yeah, like you said, he's a little bit of a legend in his own way.
I mean, he did it with no practice. He went into the round of 32 and he didn't even practice because he was a replacement coming in.
Yep.
Well,
and that's and the same matchup that he, like a week before, he lost 0-3 against Utermo. Of course, a very good Terran player, but Kalazur is also a very good Terran player. And yeah, Elfie is one of these guys that we could try to understand him, but we won't. He just works in his own magical way, but he makes it work.
One player who's been getting more and more recognition over the last couple of months here in the World Championship Series is, of course, the French Terran, MarineLorD.
I've been playing StarCraft for almost 10 years. When I saw the
MarineLorD, everyone!
Wow!
Wow! There he is.
What a transformation he's made in just a couple of weeks.
As we said, he's been making waves in the last couple of months here. But, you know, talking about MarineLorD, boys, is he, let's say 9 months ago, to a lot of people who watch the WCS week in, week out, wasn't really a name on the top of your lips, but with his top 8 last season, and now he comes into this one as a big favorite to do it again.
Yeah, when you're hot, man. He did really well there. He's done well in several other tournaments as well. And he is on that short list of non-Koreans as one of those guys that can go into a tournament, compete with the absolute best, and come out. Now, what I do want to say about him, though, is we're still kind of waiting for that big finish, like round of 16 WCS. That's awesome. But for MarineLorD, if we're going to talk about him amongst those snoots, those Lilbos, you got to be in top 4 or top 2.
Absolutely, but he did kind of make a run like that last season, right? We were always saying MarineLorD, one of the best Terrans in Europe, one of the best Terrans in Europe. And at a certain point, us commentators were being called out by the diehard fans, like, I don't know why they keep hyping up MarineLorD, you know, he has no achievements behind his name. And then finally, WCS Premier League Season 2, we saw what he was made of. Made it to the quarterfinals, then lost against Lilbao, but still a quarterfinals in WCS Premier League.
Pretty good.
That's something that we're going to mention a couple of times, but now, like Jeff said, the bar has been set, and if you want to go further, it has to be maybe a semi-finals appearance this time.
And in this group, MarineLorD is a player, if he gets first place, could, with assistance from DreamHack Stockholm, play at the global finals. If he wins it, he gets a massive chunk of points. With a little bit more from DreamHack, he could squeeze into the top 16. And he mentioned in his winners interview in the round of 32, Jeff, is that he thinks that he can win this tournament, and that is a bold statement.
And you have to think that, to be honest with you. He has competed with most of these players. He's beaten most of these players at various different events. He knows the Titans that are in this, your Hydras, your Polts. But he views himself as a guy that can do that. He practices with 4GG, another Korean Terran that we're going to see later in this tournament as well. And honestly, if he didn't believe that he could do it, he probably couldn't. So I'm glad to hear that from him.
Well, Kev, let's take a look at the maps here. So we got the map order ready, and I want you to point out how dangerous these maps can be for MarineLorD, because we know what Elfie can bring to the table. We know the type of player he is. What do you see?
Actually, a relatively standard map pool, all things considering. Terraform is our first map, Coda our second, and the last is Iron Fortress. That is the same map pool as the previous.
In the same order.
Yeah, so if this is the actual map pool, Sean, then I think this is very standard, and I think that this is something that MarineLorD should feel pretty comfortable.
This was 100% correct, Rotty. It is what we're going to be seeing. Let's talk a little bit about Terraform. So I've watched your stream, you're the #1 StarCraft 2 streamer on, of course, Twitch.tv. Everyone knows that. You've played a lot of Protoss versus Terran on Terraform. What do you think about it?
I kind of like it as Protoss, and I think most Protoss players like it. It's relatively easy to go up to 3 bases. It's not super easy. You don't get it for free, but it's very doable. And what is very useful, I think, is Protoss early on is you can drop that one pylon in that sneaky little spot, so Reapers can't hop into the main base. I think overall this is not a map that a whole lot of Terrans are super excited about. It's not impossible, but it's also not something that makes Terran players go like, woohoo, happy drop season, for instance.
I can see that in MarineLorD's face there, Kev. He's not super pumped to be played
these
either.
guys, wake up, boys. You're playing for history.
It's Premier League time.
I do want to say, though, going to map number 2, one of the things that kind of stuck out to me on Coda when we get there is this was a very equal map across all the matchups, except in TVP, where Protoss had actually a very low winning percentage. And I think a lot of players and analysts are going to talk about how hard it is to take that third base, but also drops. That's a map that we're going to have to keep our eye on, because that could be one of the tougher ones for Elfie, which means proxy gates, crazy stuff. He's a cat guy. He'll do it.
All right. So I just this coming up right now, the predictions, boys.
Oh,
well, I want to make sure if everyone at home is looking at this, we have a landslide, 8-0 in all the commentators at this event that have chosen to go for MarineLorD. Not a single vote in favor of Elfie.
I must say I was very confident in my vote before I heard that InControl picked the same player as me. Like, he doesn't really have a track record that proves that he's right very often. So.
Well, so far he's right. I am actually I'm at 0% so far. So yeah.
Well, I mean, why is everyone choosing MarineLorD? Is he that much better than Elfie today?
He is one of the absolute red hot non-Korean players. I'm really excited to see what he does. Like, when you talk about a player not so much as in this group, but rather how they do in the overall tournament, you know you've got a star there. When you talk about Lilbo, you're not like, can he win this first match? I mean, you do talk about that, but also people are like, he could win this tournament. And I think MarineLorD is one of those guys that's kind of on the outside up there.
What would Elfie need to do to win this one, Kev?
Just catch MarineLorD off guard and like have another game like he had against Kalazur, where he just played absolutely phenomenal StarCraft, where everything was going for him. But the moment that MarineLorD starts getting a little bit of momentum, one successful drop, I kind of feel it's going to be over. So Elfie really has to be on the money and throw in that Elfie mix of sometimes very solid, but most of the times very ridiculous play. I think a perfect mix between those two is what could potentially make this a very interesting series and maybe go into Elfie's way, but most likely this should be a MarineLorD victory.
All right, thank you very much, gentlemen. Do make sure to check out on Twitter and give us a tweet, #WCS, and join in the fun with the predictions. But it's now time to go into map 2, or game 2, should I say, here in the Premier League for Group A. The casters for this one is Todd and Pig.
Can the masterful mastermind Protoss Elfie take it on against MarineLorD coming up in this match? It's going to be a crazy match. Everyone's saying that, of course, MarineLorD's the favorite, but Elfie he's thrown curveballs before, and he's going to come here with his A game.
This matchup reminds me of BlizzCon 2013, Doc against Innovation. Everybody said Innovation was going to win, and then Doc through some special builds somehow upset the world.
And that's what Elfie's absolutely capable of. As we launch here into map 1 on Terraform, going head to head, Elfie the underdog, he's already been given a second life in this. He's going to have to go through MarineLorD here, one of the favorite top foreign players. And spawning here on the bottom right-hand side is our Finnish Protoss player. It is Elfie. And he has his work cut out for him. Going up against his Terran opponent, spawning in the top left-hand side, it is Team Millennium's MarineLorD.
You know, it's funny in StarCraft, like every pro gamer, they kind of want to practice in an anonymous way with barcodes on the ladder and, you know, not reveal who they are, practice secret builds, and then come into these tournaments and somehow surprise. But then you have guys like Elfie who play on real ID, cheese all day, and then somehow surprise people when they're playing through, you know, having a lot of different builds. And even though they're pretty cheesy, they are very hard to scout and, I guess, find out about. So in this case, Elfie doesn't even hide that he likes to cheese every single time he goes into a series. Like, this is kind of like Hitman. He's like, well, you know, I'm gonna throw in some special Elfie all-ins and we'll see if they work or not.
And like you said, maybe he's not the absolute fastest player in the world, but he goes in here always looking to win. And he does not care about any sort of, any sort of reputation he has in terms of being the most mechanically sound player. He's all about finding his opponent's weakness and exploiting it. And we've seen it go terribly wrong in his challenger match, but he's been looked upon kindly by the StarCraft gods this season. Of course, he did get put through in that wildcard replacement spot, and now he's here. He's made it through that round of 32. But this is another step up from it. And interestingly enough, looks like he's going to open up with a nice early probe scout, see what's going on, and actually dropping a relatively standard opening back home.
Yeah, Elfie is like one of those players that, looking at this round of 16 and all the players, he's probably not necessarily going to be a favorite against most of those players, but he's definitely capable of beating almost anybody at the same time, so you need to look out a lot. And I'm pretty sure that MarineLorD's game plan going into this series here is going to be to scout as much as possible. The Reaper opener here already kind of confirms that, even though, I mean, it's still pretty standard. As MarineLorD here, you're going to want to go that extra mile to try and scout as much as possible throughout the entire series.
And what sort of cheeses are you looking out for if you're MarineLorD? I mean, what are the key scouting information pieces that he's got to throw together? Going up against a player like Elfie, there's so many curveballs, but is there any specific one thing he's looking to eliminate with his scouting?
Usually you want to see if it's either a Twilight Council in this case or a Stargate. These are like the main two that you can go for as opener for Protoss. Sometimes it's going to be Dark Templars, Blink. Confirming exactly what it is always going to be very difficult, but having at least an idea of what the first tech building is can go a long way to help in defending whatever it is. So in this case, MarineLorD, he's already scouting all around the map, and I mean, all I just talked about really comes into play here already in this series.
You got to look for those pesky pylons, of course. This Reaper being so diligent, scouting every corner of the map. He does not want to be surprised by a sneaky pylon, a proxied Stargate.
Yeah, Stargate in particular, I think. And Elfie with a Robo in the back of his middle line here. It's too early to tell if this is the one building he wants to focus to, even though that was a really early one here, right after one Stalker. So sometimes you see like Immortal pushes or even some kind of Colossus, 2-base all-in, Colossus drop. Anything's possible with Elfie. That's the real problem of playing against a Protoss like him. You need to get lucky at times with your scouts.
And MarineLorD doesn't have any idea about it yet. That Robo is tucked in neatly at the back. And there's even that nice pylon on the high ground from Elfie, which I believe fully blocks the Reaper from jumping in the back path. Such a nice maneuver there. And the Reaper's going to come in. Is he going to be able to get the information? The Stalker is so well positioned. It wants to stop him getting this scout. And, oh, he just barely glimpses that robotics just before he goes down.
He saw a sentry. He saw a sentry, though. Usually you don't make sentries against Terran. And in this case, MarineLorD going for a Medivac and a quick drop here in this game, most likely with Widow Mines and maybe some Marines attack at the front. He should be able to see what's going on, but this might be what Elfie is hoping for, because look, there is another sentry on the way. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a lot of gateway start, and we see already 2 in the main here for Elfie, so maybe an Immortal into an Observer, a defense, and then some kind of counter-attack for Elfie here might be in the plan, which might be deadly, because behind this, when you do this kind of build, as Terran, you
There's not
hope
a
to
lot
do
of-
damage, but behind this, you really hope that you're not going to get counter-attack, because you're not going to have much back at home.
I'm delaying that production so much, going to commit to this Widow Mine drop. This is dangerous. If MarineLorD's units do get thrown away, if they die, that's very scary. And even as this is happening, Elfie is already sending a probe across the north side of the map. What he wants to do is receive this attack, shut it down, and then quickly counter-attack across the map, as you said, Todd. Get those Immortals in, those sentries, and really punish MarineLorD hard. MarineLorD may have an inkling of this with the fast robotics, but it looks like he is committed to this attack nonetheless.
Yeah, Elfie's not getting ready at all to defend in the main here. I mean, he might just sack his entire middle line to kill those Marines, counter-attack, and try and finish it immediately. Look at this, the Widow Mine.
Oh, those Marines! But Elfie is completely distracted. These two Widow Mine drops coming in the main, burrowing, and Elfie has not reacted. Massive hits, 12 probes going down, and the Marines escape. Masterful play from MarineLorD, but Elfie he says your time's up. I know I am in dead position back home. My economy is falling apart. I have to make this happen in the next 30 seconds.
There is Widow Mines back at home here for MarineLorD, and the only observer that Elfie made is defending right now in his middle line, so these are going to do quite a bit of damage, and as long as this bunker gets repaired, MarineLorD's going to be okay, but against this many Immortals
There's
and
only
force
one
fields-
Marine in that bunker. It's just not putting any damage out. The Marines from the back are separated from the army. These are the only damage output he's got right now. Those Widow Mines need to burrow. It's all about these Widow Mine shots, and one of them does get down, shoots a couple of those Zealots, a lot of SCVs going down, but the Marine flank from the rear is doing a lot of damage.
Yeah, and behind this Elfie, he's lost quite a few probes, he's quite a bit behind. As long as he can do more damage though, he might be able to transition, but he takes so much damage.
Huge Widow Mine shots from MarineLorD, and a beautiful Marine pickup ferries a Marine over to that bunker, and it looks like those Widow Mines were the saving grace. As you pointed out, Todd, the Observer, it had to go home, it had to defend those Widow Mines, and only now is it starting to make its way back across the map. Oh, this is such a disastrous position for Elfie, but where does he go from here? Does he just come across with another wave? What's his plan here, Todd?
I think his plans on maybe trying and being a little bit more aggressive with this, but he restarted pro production for a very short moment, and now he halted it again. So he might have just been indecisive for a second. I'm pretty sure he's going to commit no matter what here. I mean, this is Elfie we're talking about after all. He's only making units here right now. Down to 25 probes against 37 SCVs. His timing is going to expire soon, actually, because we got Steam Pack on the way, and the production of MarineLorD is about to completely explode with all the barracks he's getting in the main.
Oh, MarineLorD's going for some double drop action, seeing that there's a huge army here, though. One of them is running home. He still only has a few Marines out here. He does not have a lot of production. Elfie needs to kill right now before that drop hits his main. He's trying to focus down this bunker, but the repair is too good. Is there enough damage output for MarineLorD, though? The Marines are starting to go down. The bunker is getting damaged. The SCV count is getting whittled down, and the Protoss force is still very large.
And Elfie is going to get dropped back at home with some Widow Mines. He was not ready here with an Observer. He had the photon overcharge, but he wasn't paying attention.
Oh, 3 more probes going down at home, and another Widow Mine heading towards the natural. Oh, just forcing so much delayed mining as well as killing probes. Elfie's at only 22 workers. Almost none of them are mining right now. MarineLorD just needs to hang on for a few more moments, but that is a fearsome Protoss force right there.
Elfie, even though he's getting one Observer right now in his main, it's going to be, I think, one last attempt here for him to try and buzz this position. He's got a whole lot of units.
Oh, meanwhile, he's going to push in there. The SCV's trying to repair, but that is a good couple of force fields denying that. The Marauders being forced to fall back between the mineral lines, and in the midst of this, Widow Mine shots have gone off, killing another 4 probes. Elfie needs to close it out right here. His economy is in tatters, but MarineLorD just can't seem to get a lot of units together. He needs to hang on. Stim finishes. He's shooting down the Zealots, the Stalkers. He's got that bio ball up. He's got a medevac healing. Elfie is forced to retreat down that ramp.
And Elfie somehow got rid of the Widow Mine that was in his main, but there is still 2 in the mineral line of his natural. He's down to his last few units. MarineLorD, Madam Mules!
Madam Mule going down on top of Elfie. The Stim units come down, and those gateway units with no force fields left, with no supporting area damage, they cannot hang on against that. Elfie is forced to turn tail and run with his tail between his legs. Oh, meanwhile, we've got Widow Mine still at home, denying the mining time of Elfie. Elfie's economy is in absolute tatters right now.
Yeah.
And MarineLorD, he's got his tech up. He lost a lot of SCVs, but with Stim, with medevacs, he is in an absolutely astoundingly powerful position right now.
Both players lost a ridiculous amount of workers here, but MarineLorD having 21 against 22 and the double orbital is just going to be so far ahead. Remember, he's on 5 barracks as well. Now Combat Shield is going to start. He's already got Steam Pack and Medivac. He should have this game in the bag. Then again, he's against Elfie. If there's anybody that can somehow find his way out of a game like this, it might be him.
And Elfie is here. He means business. He said it in that interview before. He's all about the competition, and it doesn't get bigger than a season finals in WCS. It's been a while since he's made it down to one of these, and he wants to leave his mark. He's not going to leave this game until he has exhausted every possibility, and Elfie is so good at finding a way. Still going for Immortals and Sentries back home, looking like he wants to rely on those force fields, and now it's MarineLorD's time to finally get back across that map and start using that tech advantage. Pushing in with Stim, Medivacs, this is going to be a very fearsome double drop.
I thought he might just kind of sit at home and hope that MarineLorD makes a really bad attack, but seeing that MarineLorD wasn't attacking him, right now Elfie is moving across the map, and in a base trade here, I just think he's going to have no chance. Like, his Nexus is going to die instantly, and even if MarineLorD somehow was to be in trouble at home, he can fly in a corner of the map, and in this situation, you're never going to lose the base trade here, Astian. So Elfie just in a world of trouble.
The double drop Stims in, killing so many probes. There is not a single shred of defense here. The Nexus cannon goes down, but the Bio is shooting down that Nexus very quickly. Elfie losing his economy. Meanwhile, MarineLorD tries to preempt the attack. Stims out with a lot of SCVs to buffer. The Stim Bio has so much maneuverability. The gateway units are starting to fall. A lot of SCVs actually going down from MarineLorD, but the sentries go down. The Immortals are being focus fired, and Elfie is forced to GG out of that game. A beautiful win there for MarineLorD. Clear and confident throughout. There were a few moments where he had to be afraid. Elfie brought the fight to him. He brought it to him fast, but he was not quite able to prevail. Elfie there looking focused though. Doesn't look in any way thrown off by that whatsoever. Just a very confident win for MarineLorD.
Yeah, I think this is exactly what we expected out of this match here, by the way. MarineLorD knew that Elfie was going to play very aggressive. He kind of looked out for it. And in the end, even though for a moment, I have to say, even I was worried, in the end, the defense was good enough. He pulled SCVs, he did everything right. And MarineLorD, with a very solid first defense here, he has to be confident here going into the next game.
And we will find out in just a moment who is going to be able to take that next game. MarineLorD does lead by 1 game. You guys will find out right after this break. Welcome back to the World Championship Series. Here we are about to hop into map 2 of MarineLorD versus Elfie. And it has been a very exciting match one. Elfie already bringing the fight to MarineLorD. Unfortunately, not being able to close that one out. MarineLorD, he's the real Titan here. He's definitely one of the favorites to get out of this.
Did he just take off his jacket?
Oh, things are getting serious. MarineLorD's taking off the jacket. Maybe it's a bit of a Gracket moment going back in StarCraft history. As we do dive into map 2, it's an important match here on Coda. MarineLorD looking very focused, but first he does have to make it through his opponent. Spawning on the right-hand side, our trickster Protoss, the ever-famous, never-forgettable, it is Elfie. Such a creative player, but will his plays be able to get him through the Titan? One of the favorites of this group. It is Team Millennium's MarineLorD.
In game 1, everything went according to plan here for MarineLorD. He needs to keep this up. One map is not enough here to win. In the best of 3, you need to make sure you stay in the zone and you keep on scouting. I've seen a lot of players do the job properly in map number 1 and then in map number 2 somehow failing and then falling apart from there and losing horribly in map number 3. So MarineLorD here, he does not want that to happen. He wants to make sure he keeps up with his scouting. He knows exactly what Elfie is up to and he counters it properly.
And you can't get too afraid there, can you? Sometimes there is that feeling of, oh, what's he going to throw at me now? I'm up a game. I just have to not lose. And sometimes players even play too conservatively. But I really like what we saw out of MarineLorD that last game, always sending those drops out, putting the aggression on, even in the face of, play which he couldn't quite tell what Elfie's intentions were. He said, I'm still going to take the fight to you. I'm still going to counterattack. And he just balanced it perfectly. Already, we do see a probe coming out for Elfie on a little bit of an odd path there.
It's going to be a proxy Stargate here, most likely, unless he goes for the SOS hidden Twilight Council on the map and then some kind of 3-gate blink, but I don't think so. A lot of the time here is going to be for a proxy Stargate, which MarineLorD, since he scouts with not just an SCV and then a Reaper after, he's going to be able to see 100%, maybe even find on the map, but you still need to react properly. You still need to, sometimes, it depends what you want to defend with, get turrets, get Widow Mines, depending on how exactly he's teching. And right now he's already pulling SCVs off his second refinery here is MarineLorD, but he's very quickly going to realize what's happening here with this scout with the SCV.
Oh, MarineLorD's really been favoring that 3 racks follow-up lately, so he does love to pull off that gas after that command center, go for that as well as the factory play like we saw last game, but it looks like that Stargate's going to be going down for Elfie, and this is a very sneaky play. This is a real surprise play. If MarineLorD can scout this, he can prepare very easily and be ready, but if he doesn't see it, he's going to be in a lot of trouble.
This is not a big map. This is not a big map, and there aren't a million places that you can hide a Stargate like this on this map. An SCV plus a Reaper patrolling the entire map, you're almost always going to be able to find it on time. And now, even though there's a probe in and out on the map that's going to be starting a second pylon, that's already a huge win here for MarineLorD to know exactly where this went down and how fast this is going to come. Because he's going for an eBay, he's getting a second barracks, and he started his command center in his main instead of his natural.
Oh, and even going to get this probe. Forcing the second pylon out is huge there. Elfie, what could his follow-up be behind this? This has to do something. He has to try and pin MarineLorD in his base. That Oracle's now in the way. MarineLorD preparing himself, looking like he wants to say, I am the reactive one in this game. I am going to make it out of this group. I want to come through that winner's match. And he's already a game up, and he's just got that turret down before the Oracle even pops out. Just dotting his I's, crossing his T's. He's playing so safe, so careful here.
He's playing perfectly so far. Even having the SCV across the map, he's making sure that no Nexus is going to start. They're going to be able to chase down this Stalker there. And the turret is going to finish exactly on time here to make sure that this Oracle doesn't kill SCVs in the middle line. Going to be able to catch maybe one Marine and some SCVs there, but not the end of the world here for MarineLorD.
No, Elfie's cut probes to get that done. This was a huge investment. Coming in again, almost gets another SCV, but actually taking some hull damage on that Oracle. And look at this. MarineLorD has all the information, except the fact that Void Rays are coming. But guess what? He knows there's no natural Nexus down. He knows something sneaky's coming. And the fact that there's Void Rays on that production tab for Elfie, that means he is planning to go for a big attack from here. They can bust through those bunkers really hard. What does MarineLorD need to defend against this, Todd?
A lot of turrets, bunkers, and marines. This is the has bust here, where usually you open 1 or 2 oracles. In this case, the second oracle was cancelled to go straight into Void Race, and behind this, Elfie is getting a bunch of gateways. There is 2 ways you can do this. You can try and mass some sentries and zealots and then go into stalkers to have some guardian shields and force fields to work with. Usually you can do that if the Terran is trying to defend at the natural, because he's gonna have bunkers. But in this case, Elfie might just go into stalkers instead. Try to blow up that first bunker and hope there isn't another one, and then move up and try and finish it. But since there is already a second bunker and a turret, it seems like MarineLorD displayed the most perfect defense here that I've seen against this build almost ever, I think.
And MarineLorD goes in with that Reaper, sees the Void Rays in production, so he's got absolute confirmation at this point. He knows what he's going up against, and he is continuing to pump those Marines out 3 at a time. Just sitting on that one base saying, I'm not going to take any chances with this. The Reaper's going to go into the main base of Elfie right now, and it's going to confirm what's happening. And look at that, even more Oracle energy having to be wasted killing a Reaper. That Oracle is not going to be able to do anything in this upcoming battle.
Usually against bunkers and turrets, they don't do that well anyway, but you do need to use them anyway for the attack, because Elfie is completely all in here. There's no way he's going to be expanding behind this. He stayed on 23 probes, and I have to say MarineLorD, he's impressing me so much here with his defense. So far, he doesn't even get more SCVs. So many Terrans make the mistake of starting so many SCVs, but MarineLorD knows that this is an all-in. He's already got double orbital, so he kind of delayed and halted his SCV production, instead get a third bunker. Now he's getting everything he needs to get. Another barracks, a factory as well for Medivac Tech and Widow Mines.
And this attack is starting to power up, but MarineLorD has taken no chances. The Guardian Shield comes in. Elfie is going in for the bus. He's got a lot of force fields here. The first bunker goes down, but a Void Ray falls already. Only 2 Void Rays remain. Some nice force fields, though, trapping a few Marines. MarineLorD hopping those Marines into the bunker to escape them. Beautiful micro from MarineLorD, giving Elfie no chances in that game. And we saw he crushed through in a superior passion. What an amazing win for MarineLorD. And he does take that game 2-0. A very clear and confident win for MarineLorD. Comes out of that in a beautiful fashion. Elfie there, having to wrap things up, putting in a good showing, but unfortunately not able to close it out.
A fantastic performance there by MarineLorD and the perfect set of defensive plays to absolutely crush Kev. Absolutely crushed.
Yeah, a very one-sided series. We can make this maybe more beautiful than it was, but it was kind of a stomp, let's be honest. MarineLorD was on top of this from start to finish. One kind of shaky moment on Terraform where he started sending 2 medevacs across the map. Those mines that burrowed behind the army didn't do that much. And a sort of moment we're looking at each other, it's like, is Alfie making this work after losing 13 probes against the first 2 mines? But he didn't. The second game was very ugly, I think.
I actually really like that moment you're talking about in the first game, though, because that's like... That is so StarCraft. That's been the beginning of time where it's either Terran or Zerg, and they're like, all right, Protoss scum. Surely you're macroing now. Like, your little cheesy tactic didn't work. And you go out of your base and you're like, that jerk is still just making units. And of course he is. But I do have to say, with MarineLorD, he knew this about Elfie going into it. He was diligent with his scouting. He was very defensive in his game number 2. He was not forcing the expansion. Played brilliantly. And yes, it was a beatdown, but it was a superior player doing what it took to advance.
Do you feel that this is a statement of the group from both sides as well? It almost feels like MarineLorD was like, there is no way I'm losing today's group. I'm going to play as safe and as solid as possible. And on the flip side, Elfie's like, this is a very difficult group for me. I'm going to take it in a very different way.
I'm looking at game number 1, and what I think, and this is just speculating, I haven't spoken with any of the players, but what I think is Elfie's hoping for is that MarineLorD opens up with a 3 Rex, walks across the map with a bunch of buy units, gets force fielded in, counterattack, 7-gate Immortal, can potentially end the game immediately. But of course, in this day and age, that's very risky for A, not a whole lot of Terrans do that, and B, if Widow Mines will be dropped in your mineral line, you're pretty much dead. And of course, you know, big shout out to MarineLorD, his focus fire probably on the mines as well, because often you see double mine drop and it kills like 4 or 5. Yeah. He killed 12. Like, I don't think that's coincidence, so very well done by him. But yeah, Alfie just kind of rolling the dice, hoping that he gets the better end of the build orders, but he absolutely didn't.
And in any sport, any esport, you play a match, you absolutely dominate. It gives you the perfect form and perfect confidence going into your next match. Is that the way that we look at it with MarineLorD, who now must go up against Zanster in the winners match? Does he go into it feeling, I'm godlike right now?
I think we see the beginnings of a guy that does do what it takes to advance out of a group. You don't just play, this is my build in this matchup. You play to your opponent, and we saw that with Elfie, and it makes for, unfortunately, kind of a bad series for us, but it is also the beginnings of a champion. Now, going up against Zanster, Zanster's a very aggressive Zerg who handles mech TvZ play very well, by the way, which is something that we could see from MarineLorD. Mech, of course, being tanks and Widow Mines and the mechanized version of Terran versus Zerg. So I'm excited.
We've seen a lot of that play of MarineLorD in WCS Premier League Season 2. Had a couple of very memorable games against his fellow country buddy, Firecake, the player that Zanster, ironically enough, eliminated in Challenger this season. This is going to be a very cool series, man, a very close series. And of course, yes, MarineLorD builds up some momentum, but I also don't think that he's feeling like he's on top of the world right now. He didn't just 2-0 Classic, you know, with all due respect. He beat Alfie. I'm sure that he kind of expected to do that. And I think he knows that the real task here is definitely going to be this upper bracket match, whether it was Mana or Zanster, as both of them are on paper scarier players than Elfie.
All right, thank you very much, gentlemen. We're going to go to a quick break, and when we return, we'll have our first player that goes to the playoffs, our first player that goes to play in Krakow.
There is an eternal battle between light and darkness. The high heavens and the burning hells. Now, that conflict continues in a new arena. The war for the very heart of the Nexus is about to begin. Which side will you choose?
It's winners match time here. It's winners match time in Group A. The most important match of the day for the players in Group A. The winner of this will qualify for the playoffs and will become the first player to be top 8 in the Season 3 of the Premier League. Joining me on the desk this time we have In Control as always. And this time though, Aussie.
Oink, oink, oink!
Welcome to the desk, Pig!
Aww. I'm just a little bit too self-centered. I'm not patriotic enough, apparently.
You're not. You've been living in Germany for too long. 5 weeks in Germany. Now we've traveled over to Poland ready for the season finals. Yeah. Excited to be here, and this is a big match for the both of them now. A spot at the season finals. Zanster would be on his debut, rocketing through to the quarterfinals. MarineLorD, though, would be back-to-back round of 8. We'll talk about both of these players in a minute, as this time, it's MarineLorD.
I'm playing games since I'm 3 years old. I started in Total Annihilation, a real-time strategy game. I don't think I have any particular weakness, and I don't think I have like a very big strengths, you know. I'm just like good at everything. WCS is very important. It's like the most prestigious tournament where you get more money and you get maybe a spot to BlizzCon, so obviously it's the most important tournament. My goal for Season 3 is to win, for sure. I think I can do it. I saw it was IEM, I think, with Trap winning, and it was quite cool, like a lot of cheering and stuff, so I hope it will be the same.
MarineLorD, a young star and a budding talent in the European scene. This guy believes he can win it, Jeff.
And he's got a little bit of the stats to back it up. I mean, we say back-to-back round of 8. Should he advance from here? That's no small feat, but also he's participated in other tournaments in France where some of the absolute best players are coming up. He has made himself distinguished there as well. Yeah. He's got the results.
And he's in a group which is absolutely winnable. He's right now, Pig, one single best of 3 away in a matchup that he has loved and loved and loved over the months.
Oh yeah, he's been getting such good results in this matchup. I mean, we saw him a few months ago take out some names like Jaedong and Hyun in a Home Story Cup. He's had fantastic results against his countryman Firecake in the past. And what I find very interesting is, you know, how does he choose to play this? You're going up against a guy like Zanster who has a very unique style. He's got a very, I would say, a style where if you leave him alone for too long, he's actually really scary. He's very frightening. And MarineLorD, though, his big wins recently have all come from him kind of sitting in his corner of the map and building up the mech pool. So do you do what you want to do, that's your strong hand, but it also plays to your opponent's strengths, or do you try to change things up and exploit their weaknesses?
Jeff, you've been in this position yourself. What do you go for?
I think you play to your strengths. That's always something that there's going to be a voice in your head that says, yeah, but that's what he's expecting, and that's what you're not, you know, maybe that's not your best chance, but you have to put that away. Right now he's in that possibility to go to the round of 8. He has to think of himself as a better player than Zanster. He has had the better results. He's been doing it for a little bit longer, and Mech is really strong in the meta right now. So I feel like he does have to say, okay, I am the better player. Let him concern himself with the question of what do I do to beat him?
But very similar to earlier on in the day, is there's no way that we can count out Zanster. There's no way. We looked at him going into against Man, and we were like, you know, Man is coming to fight for Poland. He's here to do it. But Zanster lost the first map, showed complete resilience, turned it around, and he has absolutely the capability to do it again.
And specifically, and this is something that Pig was just talking about, in the TvZ matchup, we've seen him beat, or excuse me, in the ZVT matchup, my bad. He's beaten some really good Terrans in this meta that, ironically, I was just saying is like, it's so strong for TvZ. Yeah, but Zanster, he's been doing drop Zerg tactics, some Nidus Worm stuff, very aggressive. In his interview, he talked about how he likes Lucira. Well, if you're not a hardcore StarCraft fan, let me just tell you, Lucira attacks, and then he attacks some more. And if that's his idol, expect aggression.
What is the #1 thing, Pig? You've played in the WCS, you've been following it this year. What is the one thing that stands out against Zanster? Like you said, if he gets left alone, he's scary. Is that the biggest thing you look about when you look at traits about being a good Zerg player?
Oh, well, I think, you look at Zanster specifically, and he does have those beginnings of that great macro Zerg style, which is one of the strongest Zerg styles out there. But as Jeff was saying, he has these aggressive plays. He does get these very unique, obviously pre-planned, smartly decided plays, and he goes for those. And they've actually shown some great success in the past. So I think he does kind of bounce between the two extremes of very aggressive and very macro-oriented, and I think that makes him difficult to play against.
Okay, In Control's favorite part of the show now, it's time for the map vetoes. So let's take a look at who's eliminated what and who's played what. The 3 maps that are going to be chosen: Iron Fortress, Coda, and Cactus Valley. 2 maps that we've seen a lot, but talk to us about the map pool here. How does Coda and Cactus Valley come into play? We will go into Iron Fortress in a second, Pig.
Well, Coda and Cactus Valley. Coda is a very typical map, but it's also one that MarineLorD's shown he enjoys with the mech. So it's one which goes to both their playstyles. Cactus Valley, a very big, large map, something in the recent times we've seen covered in big ZVT games. A lot of mech players like to use the choke points on that map. As long as they avoid the middle of the map, it's great for nice, tight fights.
Jeff, isn't this a kind of a big map pool in itself? Isn't that kind of what Zanster would like, to play in a bigger map pool against a mech player where he can have his time to get to where he wants to be?
Yeah, you'd think so, and I think that's where Cactus Valley kind of fits nicely with his playstyle, but I'm kind of wondering, not to get too far into their head, is Coda typically a very good mech-style TvZ map? Is that a bait by Zanster? Because he picked it. Does he say, hey, I want you to do your mech? Because again, he's very good against that, and that might be something that he's actually looking to try to force upon his opponent.
Well, this first map here, loading in, how important is this first map through the side? Is this a game that is a must-win? I mean, Zanster came around and turned it around, so how did you see this play out?
As always, there's a lot of momentum involved in the first map, but I think both players are just looking to continue the momentum they've been building up from that first series. I think it's just a situation where both players have to show what they're strong with. And I mean, looking at Iron Fortress here, I think this is a fantastic map for Zerg. However, it's very good for Bio as well. And MarineLorD's a great player. He does have that range, so we've been talking about Zanster's options a lot, but do keep in mind, a lot of mech players in the past, 4GG, when he was actually playing Zanster in the group stage on this map, changed it up and went for Bio, and it was very successful there.
They can get weird. If you have like cross-map positions, it's pretty dang good, actually, for I think ZVT in particular, but if it's top-down, a lot of those parade pushes can be very strong on this map.
All right, thank you very much, gentlemen. Now is the real part of the show that we all love to participate in, and we'll be looking at some results here as we are starting to get a bit of data behind these. It's the predictions. Last game we saw a landslide for MarineLorD, 8-0, and very well so, it was 8-0. And now we have below us the results for this one. So we have very heavily favored towards MarineLorD, but Rotterdam again deciding to stand out above the rest.
He was abandoned by Caleris. Yeah, Caleris abandoned him on this one, and now's when we find out. Like, if Rotterdam gets this one right, too, all of a sudden we're like, wow, that guy, man, must be something to him. But if he doesn't, then it's like, what does Caleris know? What is he doing?
Do you look at this as like a hipster pick from Roddy, just trying to be different against everyone else?
Oh, of course, it's Rotterdam. He's out back right now looking at a fancy hats he can wear. He's wearing loafers with no socks right now. He's just getting the picks in there that no one else will take.
That is exactly
Roddy likes to be different.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. We will be checking in with predictions, and we'll look at the table after this game to see where our casters and Funker shape up against each other. But now it's time to head to the commentary team for this one. Caleris has entered the building, everybody, and he's joined with Nathanius.
A golden opportunity for one of these players, as one of them will find themselves a spot in the round of 8. France's MarineLorD, who's done so well here recently, got himself that top 8 finish last season. And then, of course, we have the upstart, the kicker, and it is Zanster. It would make his career if he was able to take this victory.
Yeah, you're pushing on some of the biggest results that he's ever had, especially if he gets out in this series against a player who has everything on the line for this WCS. If he's able to make the dream run and take this season, he could actually get to the global finals. He has a shot.
Yeah, fantastic stuff as we get into the winners match here for Group A. Up to the top left-hand corner, we have our blue Terran representing Millennium. It is MarineLorD.
The current state of Terran versus Zerg, you could almost call him a mech lord. As he faces off against the Red Zerg in the Northeast, who just defeated Mana in an upset. He is Team Properties Zanster.
And even that result for him today, very good start to his campaign to try and move forward. Making the top 8 for Zanster would be amazing. But Nathanius, you are our resident Terran expert here. Talk to us about this map for MarineLorD going up against Zanster.
I really like that Zanster mentioned, you know, he said call it the corner player. And I think the boys on the desk talked about it a bit too. MarineLorD played, I believe, the longest series, both of the longest series that we had at the Season 2 finals against Firecake, and he's not shy about it. He likes his mech, he likes his late game mech, and not only is he good at that, but now that's basically what every Terran is doing, and it is so good against Zerg, just because the Terrans have figured out so many different ways to patch up all the weaknesses, really, in terms of getting the third base and just not dying to aggression.
Yeah, I remember casting both of those series. I was about to compare it to Cast or Trapped In, because they did take a little while to actually unfold. MarineLorD did not want to attack, and then on the other side, Firecake kept throwing wave after wave at him, but MarineLorD was unbreakable. He is the bulwark here when it comes to that kind of mech style in WCS.
Yeah, it's just shown, really, just how effective it can be across the board. The boys at the desk did talk a little bit about the tendency for this map to favor Bio a little bit more, and I don't disagree with them. I think MarineLorD is a good enough player that if he comes into this group as confidently as he should, I don't think he should rule out playing Bio. You know, these spawns aren't bad for it, and Zanster hasn't really done anything tricky with this opening, you know, going for the faster pool, but it's not anything aggressive. He's not looking to gain, you know, some sort of tangible advantage from this.
And we will now see him. Actually, he didn't send his Overlord in the correct direction to start things off, so he's not going to be as quickly scouting out his opponent as he would like. This one has just been sent down towards the bottom. MarineLorD looks like he's not going to be taking any risks at all with that bunker already going down. You know, kind of giving a tip of the hat, really, to Zanster. And just in case anything aggressive was coming along, he would be able to be a little bit ready for it.
Yeah, both of these builders are a little bit middle of the road, right? You have the delayed hatchery opening with that speed, so you have options to get aggressive if the Terran's being really greedy. But at the same time, most Terrans that have been playing for the big mech builds, or at least most Terrans in general, have really been favoring a lot of Command Center first plays or Reaper openings. But going for the gasless one racks fast expand, it's, you know, MarineLorD basically just booted up the first build order he saw from like Wings of Liberty. This is a very, very safe style, but it allows you to get this third command center while also filling up a bunker. And just having those couple extra Marines versus a command center first can make all the difference when it comes to defending any type of early pressure.
And a sixling opener for Zanster on the other side against what he was maybe suspecting to be a Reaper with the positioning that they went for. How does that hurt the Zerg here going up against this 3 command center style? How does it work?
Only because it's this opening, really. Like, if it's against a Reaper, the Zerglings want to buy time, right?
Yep.
But you already opened with a pool first, so your Queen should delay the Reapers from doing any damage. Either way, I definitely think Zanster could have gotten away with a few more drones, but you also pointed out that the Overlord did go in the wrong direction at the start of the game, so he's not 100% aware himself what MarineLorD's up to. And I love this second bunker, because he's saying, and this is, I think, the hallmark of any good mech player, if I get up to what I need to actually start building this mech army, I'm not going to lose to you. So I'll invest a little bit more defensively at the start, because I know all I need to do is just get these forces up. And we can see, having this many Marines, those Lings didn't do anything.
No, not at all. He didn't lose a single unit. Even that one Marine has been able to keep itself alive there. So well played out defense here by MarineLorD, even though he didn't do anything too fancy.
And the thing is, if you do a build like this off Command Center first, you usually have 2 Marines. So it's a bit more difficult to actually get out of that bunker, because then the 6 Zerglings can actually kill both of those, and then maybe you lose a mule.
Yeah.
So MarineLorD's just playing it safe, and I like it. As the favored player, he should.
And we are on the road. It is going to be mech-tastic already. That's quite the quick little second factory there, though.
Yeah, I like this a lot. Not as common, but, you know, a fast Blue Flame opener, which is what I'm going to expect from this. Man, Blue Flame Hellions, having those run all around the map, useful throughout the entire game for mech. But for opening-wise, this can blindside a Zerg so hard if they don't open fast roaches.
I mean, especially against Zanster here, who is expecting MarineLorD to just be, as he said at the very beginning, corner lord, right? He sits there and just waits around. If he goes for a more aggressive mech style to start things off, this could really hurt Zanster if he's not careful.
Yeah, and the thing is, everything that Zanster has seen so far suggests, okay, maybe it's a 3 command center build.
Yeah.
But it doesn't tell him that it's a fast 2 factory Blue Flame Hellion push. This could be a very simple setup to go into Bio. He could have just built that tech lab, gone for Stim. He could have had a starport building instead of a second factory. It could have been Cloaked Banshee. But now There's the blue flame coming in, and he even gets one siege tank quickly just to make sure that if there were some kind of fast roach push, he'd still be able to survive despite the fact that he wants to play Hellions.
Really covering all of his bases. Let's check in on Zanster World, though, over on the other side. At the moment, he's grabbing himself the Spire, which is pretty rapid off these third base location that's just gone down now, so banking up a little bit of gas in between these two bases.
It's a good choice. It's a really good choice because the Mutalisks are going to be coming out around the same time that Blue Flame gets close to completing, and MarineLorD's going to want to, he's going to want to move in with the Hellions as that upgrade completes. So it's going to really limit the options for him. If he threw his Hellions in now, he'd have a better chance of getting something done since there's not that many Zerglings, but he doesn't know that for a fact. So the Mutalisks should come out at a good enough time for Zanster to deflect the early pressure, but it still comes down to where he positions his queens and whatnot to not lose drones before that happens.
It's a funny kind of middle of the road timing by Zanster by the looks of things. I mean, you can sometimes see that two-base Spire play when they try and keep the Terran on the other side of the map, but this one with the third base going down just before it, it keeps Zanster, in towards the later stages of the game nice and healthy if nothing actually happens with it.
Yeah, opening up with all these Hellions when your opponent goes for fast mutas and gets that third base up and doesn't lose any drones. Like, even these Lings, they don't need to do anything. They just need to soak up 1 or 2 shots to prevent those Hellions from going right onto the drone line. And now Blue Flame is done. He wants to move in. The Zerglings come in.
Now, that's a lot of damage already been done to those, and he actually keeps and retains a lot of these Hellions already. They're going to try and dart up in towards the main. The Queen's just not in the best position there to be able to block it off.
Oh, boy.
And those Mutalisks are popping soon, but not soon enough. Drones are already going to die off here. That is a lot of roasted drones.
Now, so close to that timing for the Mutalisks, but this is a hallmark of a good player. He realizes that, opening mutas is pretty popular for a lot of Zergs, so he comes at the perfect timing.
Those lined up as well, and he did get a few more kills. 21 drones go down.
Well, those timings line up very closely, but Blue Flame finishes just a little bit earlier. And the thing is, if MarineLorD just dances around a little bit more, doesn't move in quite when Blue Flame finishes, he runs by those, kills those Lings, and the mutas are just finishing. And then if you don't kill those drones and you lose all those Hellions to Mutalisks, like, this counterattack gets really difficult to deal with because now he can go straight into a Thor, and he can afford to throw in a bunch of missile turrets and Vikings since he's already done a ton of drone damage.
And this is where Zanster wants to try and equalize things up, but with the Vikings already pushing these away, it is a little bit difficult. Also, the missile turret at that third location has finished up in good time. There's not enough Mutalisks to engage that hard on right now.
This is phenomenal for MarineLorD right now because there's no upgrades for Zanster. He's just now getting his Roach form, which means he can't have Roach speed. There's no Roach barrel play that's going to come in. And why I mentioned both of those is he needs some way to deal damage to MarineLorD. Because if MarineLorD gets to sit back now, get his 3 bases up, he'd go to 160, 170 supply and just march on his opponent. He doesn't even need to turtle mech because he killed so many drones at the start of the game.
Yeah, done really well. 3 evolution chambers down on the other side of this here for Zanster. Not using one of them at the moment. We're just getting his 1-1 upgrades for range and carapace, as well as carapace for the air. So trying to allow those Mutalisks to do a bit more, but he's got to be committing to like a heavy roach play here from this point on, surely.
Yeah, well, the thing is, right, you hope with the Mutalisks to force out a lot of Thors and a lot of missile turrets, things that aren't going to deal well with the roaches. But one of the things a lot of good mech players have started to do is they really complement those low numbers of Thors with a lot of Vikings, since they can still zone out mutas pretty well in low numbers. And that allows him to keep building siege tanks so that if he tries to push in with roaches, MarineLorD can still cover a lot of ground.
Did the Vikings have a purpose from that point on forwards, though, when Hive becomes a factor?
Yeah, well, the best part about having Vikings early on in mech is not only are you going to kill Overlords or push away Mutalisks from sniping off units, but they're really good at dealing with the Vipers as well. Once you have 6 Vikings, you're 2-shotting the Vipers, and at that point, it's so difficult to come in and get those blinding clouds, which are basically the way that you're supposed to be able to beat mech when you're playing as Zerg.
And now we do move into the first person here of Zanster, who's trying to rearrange his position here with a few extra drones on that gas geyser. He probably wants to kind of separate that up. And aside from that, he did send some roaches up towards the top left. So he's probably going to look to move in there, but really focusing on his 4th base, trying to get his economy going and babysitting it noticeably here against the Hellions, trying to swing on in, but they shouldn't get too much done.
Yeah, good time to be looking at your, at your expansion. Right as the Hellions run in. And there we actually see he starts up the Hive, and that's going to be where he looks for those big power play units. I like that he has these roaches out on the map, but he knows when he steps forward that sensor tower vision is there, and I love that he's just trying to be everywhere at once.
Yeah, this is what Zanster's going to have to do for a little bit. Continue to try and poke and prod at MarineLorD, just like he's been prodded pretty hard at the start of this game. Shutting down some of those roaches. over on the left-hand side maybe, but also getting the Hellions over here. Will Zanster, and another swell of work roaches tries to go in. Good raise of the supply depot though.
Yeah, that could have gotten ugly real fast. I really like how fast he pulled the SCVs to repair this depot as well. He's got the tank on the high ground and the Vikings to help clean this up. It's like, yes, you killed the depot, but you know, I bought enough time with you killing that, and that refinery is not a primary target here. Zerglings are going to try to run in.
Not going to do too much though, apparently. Get themselves 2 tanks at the front, but still MarineLorD is gathering a good size of momentum. The one thing that is annoying here, one would say for the mech player, is that the creep is buffering up against his location pretty hard.
Yeah, that's the biggest issue right now for MarineLorD. He has to make a choice about what he wants to do. He could float that command center north, try to take that as his 4th base. He could go, it looks like he might be flying it south, but he has the army that could theoretically win in this game. Like, right now, it's just roaches for Zanster. There's no big tech, there's no Hydralisks, and, you know, despite these Zerglings being cheeky, they're all going to die, like, pretty much instantly as soon as they engage the Hellbats. So, if MarineLorD pushes now, he has the opportunity, but he needs to be careful, because now that Ultralisk Cavern's on the way.
Yeah, with that +2 melee weapons going down as well here for Zanster. He has favored the kind of Ultralisk style in the past against these kind of mech plays, and if he can get to it, great, but at the moment, the mech army is pushing through here like a javelin.
And that's why I love the Viking play, too, because they're so much more mobile than the Thors to come back and deal with that low number of Mutalisks, and now he can completely focus on making this push. There are 2 Vipers on the way, but hey, he still has the Vikings. He can one-shot those Vipers now. If he can get into a good position, he could take the game here.
MarineLorD been practicing very diligently for these kind of moments here. He wants to be able to make a top 8 once again, and at the moment he's doing well. Needs to just continue to shut down those small counterattacks that are hitting here. Zanster knows that he needs to buy some time, needs to whittle down these numbers, but he has hardly anything to combat this at the front.
Yeah, I really like this. You know, looking at MarineLorD's first-person vision, he recognizes the possible threat of being counterattacked. He left a few tanks at home, used his rally to defend, and now he's in the perfect position. He's right on top of the natural.
And look at all the control moves, everything he's been doing, even landing the Vikings just to add that a little bit of extra damage.
And the bit of spread, too, on the tanks. Yes. He can't be blinding clouded.
It's very, very strong here at the moment. Here's MarineLorD, and he's forced his way all the way to this location without anything happening.
His Overlords.
Oh,
Zanster's not going to be able to build any more units this game.
No, every single one of them is going to die. He's lost himself a +2 melee upgrade. Even if the Ultralisks are to come out anytime soon, they won't be as strong here. Carapace finished, sure, but oh, that poor Thor on the ramp. That poor guy. But
can't quite squeeze through. I mean, we are going to have, you know, at least some Ultralisks come in with these Vipers. This is going to be his first chance to clean up some of this army.
Yeah, good move with the blinding clouds there, which as well the Vikings are out of position to really deny that. So these Ultralisks doing a pretty good job of cleaning up. Vikings are going to land. They're going to be like mini Thors here for a moment. That one siege tank at the top of the ramp trying to hold on strong. And actually the roaches are blocking off the Ultralisks, but picking up, getting on out of there, cleaning up okay.
Yeah, I mean, killed 1 Ultralisk with the Vikings, you know, so, but not able to do too much here. Still, I feel like the damage has definitely been done.
Yeah, it was big, big damage there. Also, these Hellions are coming in as like kind of salt on the wound at the moment, getting ourselves a few more drones and really slowing down Zanster's progression, even though he's got actually quite a lot of Ultralisks still on the way. Can he bust like a fortified position at the front is the big question.
That's what he's got to go for. I mean, MarineLorD is in an economic position where now that he's securing this 4th, if he just survives and remaxes, he can make the switch into Ravens, and that's where things get really tricky because Zanster not only lost so many Overlords, he just lost even more, actually. Still supply blocked after that. Like, he can make a play at the Ultras, but now MarineLorD knows that all he needs to do are just build tanks to kill the Ultralisks with.
Yeah, the window that MarineLorD hit there while Zanster was trying to get these Ultralisks out was pretty good, pretty darn good to shut down some of that economy, to deny the +2 weapons. Now those 3 starports, as you mentioned, on the way here. And that will be the nail in the coffin for Zanster unless he's able to find a hole somewhere in MarineLorD.
Yeah, the biggest issue is that with that supply block, all of the army supply right now is Ultralisks. There's 10 Ultralisks on the map. The 2 Vipers are the support units. That makes these Hellions that much more difficult to deal with because they can just run around, try to have fun catching these with your Ultralisks.
Yeah, they just, well, if they get pinned in a corner, yeah, they'll die off, but they are going to give them the little dodge for a moment.
But at the same time, it also tells MarineLorD where Zanster's army is. So he's like, okay, if that's all you've got, you have to pull all those Ultras back to kill Hellions. I still killed 7 drones. I'm not really worried about minerals. I've got mules.
And look at him building the wall, building that wall, making sure that nothing's going to be able to get through.
And there's like each tank's individually spread. It's like, well, you know, good luck, man.
Oh, and the fusion core as well here. So MarineLorD is looking to transition on to the ultimate capital ship army against Ultralisks, which, let's be honest, they're not very good against battle cruisers in terms of killing them off.
Yeah, especially once you get Yamato cannon. And I love that he's just building so many missile turrets. He's like, I don't need Thors. If you even try to do some sort of ridiculous Mutalisk, you know, Jaedong level Mutaswitch, it's like, it will not work. I will build 1,000,000 missile turrets if I have to, just so I can keep building tanks.
Yeah, at the same time here, Zanster, I mean, what does he have to do to kind of find himself in a better position? Like, try and take the entire map somehow and get himself back through that way? What's his options?
I mean, he's got the worker count now to start to build up that economy to do it, but with the Ultralisks that he's already committed to, I think with Chitinous plating and +2 coming in, he definitely should wait for Chitinous. But I don't actually know. Like, this position is too solid. I don't know how he's supposed to break this. He needs Blinding Clouds on the missile turrets so that his Vipers can get close enough to Blinding Cloud the tanks without getting hit by the Vikings, which is really asking for a lot.
Yeah, that's a catch-22 position right there.
There they go.
Well, yeah, that was even more of a catch-22 position. They just got completely obliterated.
You can't attack this without Vipers.
No. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. So far, MarineLorD, we said it at the start of this series, he's the bulwark. He's not going to be broken.
And now the thing is, it's like, okay, it was a couple Vipers. Yeah, he has a bank, he can replace them, but the time it takes to replace those Vipers and get energy, MarineLorD's going to have battle cruisers on the map.
Yeah.
There's nothing that can kill battle cruisers on the map right now for Zanster.
Tough times here for Zanster. He needs to solve the puzzle somehow, but as he's trying to solve the puzzle, someone's burning his hands. It's not very easy when your economy keeps getting killed off just a little bit here and there, when you're going to have to... How do you challenge the battle cruisers? What's the go-to? A load of corruptors trying to drag them out with
battle cruisers with this much support are difficult enough to deal with when you have Mutalisks or corruptors, because those Vikings are really good support. Any Thors that might have been left over from earlier on are good support, but 21 siege tanks, 12 Vikings, 2 battle cruisers with 2 more about to come out. I think once Yamato gun is done, he's going to be in a really good spot. Like, I just don't see how Zanster can attack this army without MarineLorD making a huge mistake.
Even finding a good opportunity here with just a few tanks and Hellions to clean up some of the creep down towards the bottom, denying a bit of vision there from Zanster, but Zanster's not really anticipating a move out from his opponent anyway, so he's just trying to figure out where he's going to attack eventually, but it's difficult.
Yeah. And now MarineLorD does want to move down. He's thinking to himself, yep, I want to get a 5th base. I'm going to come out now. I believe he sees the battle cruisers too, so the Ultras, they're going to just run by this.
Well, that's going to take a lot of damage already. Yamato Cannon's going to hit a few of these here. And also the siege tanks, unsieged, are just going to be able to obliterate a few of them.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of surprised by that. There is a Spire on the map as he cleans up these Hellions, or excuse me, Hellbats, but he lost the 5 Ultras. He builds 5 more Ultras and a few more Queens, which still doesn't answer the battle cruisers.
Yeah, this is kind of difficult at the moment here. The Ultralist is going to charge on in. That Blinding Cloud really didn't even hit any of those siege tanks there. He's going to kill off quite a few of the siege tanks on the ground, but still, the battle cruisers are going to be able to reign supreme, and he even cleans up the rest of the Ultralisks anyway, with the Vikings coming back for some good old support fire.
Yeah, queues up 13 more Ultralisks. Oof. That's the entire bank. There's still battle cruisers on the map. There are 4 BCs. There's 4 battle cruisers, 3 more about to finish. They're 3-3 upgraded, and now building armor is going on back home. Like, this army, I mean, MarineLorD, he's just played this too well.
You can't let him get here. You cannot let him get here in the position that Zanster has economically as well. He would have to have an equal bank to be able to trade off over and over, have extra waves of units coming out to be able to kind of deal with this army.
It's like, yeah, you killed the siege tanks, congratulations. Yeah. Now I still have about a dozen battle cruisers on the map, and I'm building more tanks at home, so don't even try counterattacking.
And he's got a few Corruptors on the way now, has Zanster, but it's probably not going to be the right number he needs at the moment to try and deal with this. The Ultralisks are trying to break down this wall, but all the while, yeah, good job, battle cruisers.
Yeah, those battle cruisers just output so much damage, especially with the scaling on those upgrades. More BCs are going to finish, and even as much health, as much power as these Ultras have, they won't be able to kill everything before the BCs clean them up, and there's not enough resources. You can't actually make enough Corruptors to deal with this.
I mean, admittedly, at least Chitinous plating mitigates a little bit of the damage from battle cruisers to the point where they do kill them off very slowly, but it's still quick enough for MarineLorD to be over the other side, doing big economical damage, being able to save some of his structures here, and Planetary Fortress holding for a little bit.
Now, well, he has command centers for days, so having a base snipe is not going to hurt him very much. Zanster starts up a Hydralisk Den. I'm not feeling it, Kalaris.
It's a bit ambitious, let's put it that way. Only +1 range weapons for those as well.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't even be doing that much damage to the battlecruisers even if they were able to get underneath them.
Yeah, considering that the battlecruiser at +3 upgrades, something like 6 armor, so those Hydras are going to have quite a tough time chewing through them.
Battlecruiser's just going to work, and on the other side of the map here, Zanster clutching on to hope in this game with only a few Ultras and Zerglings at the moment, not really being able to do the business, still against now 10 battlecruisers.
Yeah, it's like Zanster wants to force a base trade, but then MarineLorD's playing mech, so he's like, well, actually, I can't kill you because you have giant floating capital ships. And I guess he's just going to try to scrub a few of these Hydras. He's making so much gas, but he doesn't have any mining bases. Like, his natural has some money left, but it's not enough to, you know, recharge this economy.
And there's still no rush for MarineLorD. This is a big statement for him in this first game of the winners bracket. Obviously, he wants to play it patiently, calmly, get his second top 8 in a row here in the World Championship Series. And for him right now, this is plain sailing, or plain cruising if you want to go for a battlecruiser pun.
Yeah. He could just attack move these battle cruisers and then zoom in on his computer and just watch them in slow motion.
Yeah.
He could probably go into his options, turn off the health bars, make it look even fancier, and just watch them eradicate everything because he's got this game in the bag.
GG, well played. Game number 1 goes to MarineLorD here after a very impressive showing by him. And you know what's even cooler about it? It's the fact that he didn't necessarily always have to turtle during that game. It was that stab to begin things off with those Hellions being able to do so much damage early on.
Yeah, it hit just fast enough, and considering how greedy he was by taking 3 command centers prior to that, you know, it wasn't like it was a really fast Blue Flame Hellion attack, but I think it's because it came so late that when Zanster scouted with the Overlord, he's like, this doesn't look suspicious. I can just rush up to Spire and, you know, a couple Lings will defend me. Obviously not versus Blue Flame Hellions.
No, a little bit difficult there for him. And now, with the kind of landscape that's been set here in a game like this, how does Zanster even be able to deal with some kind of mech? Goes for an early push, something like that?
Honestly, Iron Fortress is supposed to be a map where that's difficult.
Yeah.
And now we're going to Coda, a map that is notoriously known for being an easy map to play these mech styles on, since all those tanks can cover your natural and third so easily. There's no positioning around that. It's you put them between your natural and your third. You put a little bit to watch the east flank if you're on the north spawn. But outside of that, Zanster needs to pull something out crazy because MarineLorD just didn't miss a beat with anything in that game.
Yeah. Do you think MarineLorD is going to be broken in this series? Because right now, I mean, looking at that first game, he is looking to fly on. I mean, with his French flag waving and being able to push forwards.
It's tricky to tell. He's one of the only players that could actually make it to BlizzCon if he comes through. He's certainly going to be one of the most practiced players coming into this.
All right. Well, we are going to go to a short break, but when we are back, it will be game number 2 here between MarineLorD and Zanster. Welcome back to the World Championship Series here for game number 2 between MarineLorD and Zanster. And right now, MarineLorD is looking on point, on fire, wanting to find himself in that second round of 8 once again.
Yeah, this is a really big moment for him, like we've been talking about. And just another shout out to the French StarCraft scene, as they have had a phenomenal year. And this man advancing into the top 8 for Season 3 would already be another big boost for them.
Let's get into it. Game 2 here on Coda between MarineLorD and Zanster. MarineLorD looking to try and push himself all the way to the global final. It's an ambitious one, but we do have spawning down to the bottom right-hand corner. It is our blue Terran representing Team Millennium. It is MarineLorD.
Accomplished quite a bit with that aggressive blue Flame Hellion push against this Zerg player in the Northwest. Spawning in red, playing for Team Property, he is Zanster.
Seen him so far this season have such, really, really impressive results. His Challenger series alone, I think that's one of the big reasons me and Rotterdam pegged him in that first series. I mean, yes, it was a completely different matchup, but we saw the quality that someone like Zanster can bring out from the very start of the season all the way through now, and he's certainly someone that can't be underestimated, but MarineLorD in that first game just looked untouchable.
Yeah, a lot of it comes down to Zanster not seeing quite what was coming his way, and the blue Flame Hellions getting in there. Spire openings are super popular, when you're playing versus someone, like if you know 100% they're going to go mech, you're either going to open fast Spire or you're going to open up fast Roaches.
Yep.
And the fast Roaches are bad versus Banshee openings, but the Muta openers are good against those, but then you have to worry about the Hellions, like how fast will he push with the Hellions, and it becomes a little bit of a gamble in this matchup, and Zanster obviously wasn't able to make the best of that scenario, but like you talked about, in that first series, he showed a lot of prowess with the map vision, being very active. It's just so tough when MarineLorD just plays in the corner of the map all game.
Yeah, it doesn't really give you too much of an opportunity. I mean, most of the time when you have a Terran in that position, stretch across over 4 bases with a lot of attack paths for a Zerg, those kinds of pockets of Roaches that we saw Zanster trying to utilize could probably do a bit of damage here and there, but MarineLorD was having none of it. He was like, no, you'll get a supply depot, that's it.
Yeah, relative to the last map, he went for the fast pool before his hatchery, but this time around he's also gotten that really quick gas, so his speed will still be done very, very soon with this build. Not really sure what he's looking to accomplish. Like, he's hoping, the way I look at this, like to catch him off guard being too greedy, but MarineLorD even went command center first in the high ground, so even if he was getting, fast pooled on one base, he'd still be totally fine.
Well, SCV is going to come on in now for MarineLorD. He's going to have a little look around, be maybe a little bit wary of the fact that that gas is up and running, and from that point on, I mean, do we see MarineLorD going for a bunker anytime soon? Is that something that he's thinking about here, or is he happy with the wall?
I think so. I think MarineLorD should definitely build a bunker, and it's not that I think he 100% needs it, but it's more that considering the fact that he built 2 bunkers last game and still it didn't really affect his build order at all, why not? Like, if you play mech, if you're the kind of Terran player that starts the game up, you're like, I want to play mech, there's 2 things you really need, and that's your third base, but also some sort of either damage or really greedy opening. And that will always make you vulnerable in some way or another to really fast, like 1.5 base plays by Zerg. There's no reason not to invest a little bit of those minerals that you don't really need anyway because you're not building barracks to just defend. Just don't die at the start of the game, and you are already in a really good position if you're playing mech.
So now relocating his barracks and building an extra supply depot just to complete the usual wall off when that command center moves away will help on out MarineLorD here. Just have a more usual base startup at least.
In a fast second gas MarineLorD, like Zanster is playing this like pretty similar to the last map. Not that super fast, crazy third. I imagine he'll go for it soon, but he's getting his Zergling speed. There's not quite those 6 lings, by the way. And you mentioned this on the last map. Zanster realized, he's like, okay, if you're going to be this tucked away, since I was able to scout you, because it's a 2-player map, I don't need to invest in those 6 lings. I only build 2s to look around the map, and I can get a couple extra drones from that.
Yeah, I mean, in the previous game, they literally did 0. They actually did no damage.
They ran in and died.
Yes, didn't even get themselves a single Marine. Poor guys. So cutting that out, just kind of making sure that you're more streamlined here for Zanster is very important going up against an opponent that has shown a very strong game number 1.
Yeah, now these Marines are going to push him back, but already, it feels weird to say, it's not like Zanster's really done any damage this game as these Zerglings come running in looking for something to do, but just that Overlord, being able to see that starport, like he already has so much more information at this point in the game relative to on Iron Fortress. He's got to be feeling a lot better as far as like what his options are, because I think that fast Spire play would be a lot stronger on this in this specific game, because it won't be a big Hellion push. It is likely to be Banshees or some sort of Mind Drop, things that layer tech in general is very good against.
And we do have that layer on your way, as you mentioned, with also the third base going down up towards the top. So he's kind of, once again, taking a middle-of-the-road option. If this was a Spire play, wouldn't the fourth extra gas being going down right now? I'm surprised it's not, if he wants to try and do something.
Yeah, it is a bit interesting. With the gas he's pulling in right at this moment, assuming he doesn't start a Baneling Nest, which he shouldn't, he can start a Spire when the lair finishes anyway and then take the fourth gas. But, you know, it's also totally fine to just get a few spores and open up with like a Roach Swarm and try to do a big push. This Baneling Nest is rather interesting. I'm assuming that the only reason he would do this is he's actually worried about a big Hellbat push with this Armory, which would still be quite a threat, but it's going to limit the number of Mutalisks he can make if he decides to invest into a lot of Banelings to defend.
Maybe that's MarineLorD's intention. If he actually looks to put on the pressure at the front and force the gas being spent elsewhere, Zanster would be limited to his side of the map and not really doing too much.
Yeah, he doesn't have that much gas at all. So with the Baneling Nest, he can set himself up, defend, and then try to crank out maybe 3 or 4 mutas, but not really a game-ending number. And he comes in, you see that the Zerg player doesn't have that many drones at their third base either. You know they're investing into quite a bit at the moment.
Good transfuse there. We'll be able to keep himself alive with one of the Queens at the front. Banshee's trying to poke back in. It's just that cloaking finish, so technically he could go back in there and try and cause some more disruptions. That being said, no, they can't, because there's an Overseer there that I missed. Never mind.
I mean, he's got the lair, so it's not the end of the world. You know, the Banshee shouldn't be the game changer. And I do really like that he didn't build any Banelings. He has Lings on the map if he needs them, but he's got the Spore Crawler, he's got the Spire coming in, and, you know, he's forced him into basically swapping these add-ons, very 4GG-esque, his teammate style, to just go right into that Viking Thor setup.
And at the moment here, MarineLorD is going up against a Zanster that hasn't taken the same amount of damage that he had in the previous game. So Zanster, going into this second game, has a bit more of an opportunity to try and deal with what MarineLorD's got going on in his mind, surely, with that kind of lockdown position.
However Zanster wants to handle this game, he is in a massively better position than he was in the last game. You know, all things said and done, he can go for this really small muted commitment, but he can swing into Roaches so much faster than he did previously that it's like, okay, I don't actually need these mutas to do damage. I can force a couple missile turrets and still be happy with that.
And these Lings going to try and swing on towards the third base, but it's not even there. He's being able to cover that with creep. These Lings can just poke away any kind of threat that does come along towards that and limit a little bit of the economy. Even the scan goes down and reveals the exact position Zanster is in with his tech at the moment. So MarineLorD has full understanding and timing of where he is right now in the game.
Yeah, and I really love this. This third base is isolated off, so needs to bring some forces out, and that always makes you a little bit nervous as a Terran, because you don't want to be caught off in case they built a bunch of Roaches really quickly. Obviously, it is Mutalisks at this stage. He has more than enough to defend against this, but you still got to be careful.
Zanster is really kind of cranking things up on the other side now, though. Hive is on the way here at the 11-minute mark. Fourth base is going down.
This is really smart. This is really, really smart. Like, he could try to push out for Ultras really fast again. But I wouldn't even... I guess he doesn't seem to like that Roach Hydra setup, but even this is still better than the last map by a long shot.
It's looking very melee focused again here for Zanster, and now, whereas MarineLorD was able to hit a brilliant timing in the previous game, everything's been accelerated here for Zanster in this game. MarineLorD's got to be a little bit careful of how fast-paced Zanster's playing on the other side, because for all intents and purposes, Zanster's playing it very, very greedy right now.
Yeah, I completely agree. I was going to say that Zanster has cut so much out, like going for his Hive. He didn't build any Roaches prior to the Hive. He didn't even... obviously, as you pointed out, he went for melee upgrades, so he's looking at those Ultralisks, which won't be out for quite some time. Didn't even get Roach speed. It's like, meh, I didn't really need this. Now he's got it started, but you know, it's more of an afterthought for defending against Hellions than it is, I want to build a bunch of Roaches to kill you.
That's how comfortable he's felt. There's a really fine line when you're playing Zerg of like, how many corners can I cut? That's one of the big things that the Zerg race revolves around. And for Zanster here at the moment, he's cut a lot of them, and it's going to pay dividends potentially. I mean, the Ultralisk Cavern is on the way right now here against this mech force that's not really going to be moving out anytime soon.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily a sign that MarineLorD's in a bad position, because he has once again opened up with a lot of Vikings. He can very safely pick off Vipers if his Vikings are in a good position. And after that, his mech army pre-siege in a defensive stance will be enough to defend against Ultralisks. So really it comes down to how these players position themselves and how they use their harassment tools to draw the other army out of position.
We could be in for the long haul here in this game. That's what one thing we're trying to say here at the moment, because right now, MarineLorD is going to sit around on these 3 bases for a little while and not really do too much other than, well, already get some good creep kills in the middle, but there's so many queens there to be able to reinforce that. It's okay here for Zanster.
Yeah, and the big thing, I guess, back to your point about the, this game's going to take a little bit, is that timing that MarineLorD went for on the last map doesn't exist.
Exactly.
It doesn't exist because he didn't do early damage, so he's up against a Zanster that if he were to try to push out at 160 supply, which he's not that close to at the moment, Ultralisks would be coming out and they would just swallow his army whole, kill him, and then he'd win the game. So MarineLorD can't push out because he failed to do damage. So he's going to be looking to draw this game out in a big way unless Zanster, suicides his ultras into his sieged up army.
Right now they're gaining themselves chitinous plating. 2-2 is on the way, 6 ultras about to come out. But as you say, it's difficult to kind of mash up against the wall. So it's basically a game of Starship Troopers right now. He's just going to, if he ever wants to go for an engagement, it will be against a wall and he'll take heavy losses. But does he have the numbers to be able to break it? That's the big question.
Zanster's maxing out. He has 7 Ultralisks coming in. The real question is, now that he's maxed, how long does he want to wait? I don't think there's anything wrong with waiting for the upgrades, but they will make it, I think, increasingly difficult to attack this. Although, I still don't know if you want to attack this. This is a very, very well-fortified position.
So what's an answer for a Zerg here? When you're trying to break a mech Terran, I know you don't want to give too many secrets away so your ladder points don't get stolen to Fanyas, but what would be the go-to here for Zerg? Just constantly try and butt heads against it, or go where do you
gotta try to trade. I really like when Zerg players play with a lot of Vipers. I'm talking like 5+ Vipers, and you just spam out the blinding clouds and just try to trade away. And in this position, it's okay to do that because the Terran's on 3 bases, and you can usually max out pretty easily on 3 bases, but the whole point is to keep the Terran from being able to hit 200 supply and then just slowly lean on that 4th, and once they secure the 4th base, that entire base basically is battlecruisers and Ravens.
And a huge swell of drones just came out there from Zanster, so I'm suspecting we see a lot of static defense maybe going down for him, trying to slow this game down even further from his side of things, so he's comfortable on his side of the map.
Yeah, Zanster's on 5 bases. Realistically, and this is actually still, it's almost like, oh wow, this is so turtly and slow to watch from MarineLorD, but he's taking every possible precaution, and it's very smart of him to do so.
Yeah. Because it's one of the only ways you're going to be able to beat MarineLorD style, who's doing equally the same thing on his side. For now, do go into first-person view. These Lings already spot some of that fortification. And he's quite far forward here. Again, the creep spread has been very, very good, meticulous here by Zanster.
And very nice, actually. When you look at that first-person view, he has those queens put up forward, and we saw he went to move those forward just a little bit when the Vipers got shot at. He knows how important those Vipers are. They're the key to victory here. And now, is he actually going to try to move in on this space? Denying this would be awesome, but MarineLorD is playing this slow enough that it might not be doable.
Ambitious, as those siege tanks from the back are going to do quite a bit. The Mutalisks separate themselves forwards, and they see the extent of that siege tank line as it goes back. Very difficult to break forwards, and thus he actually has an overlord down to the bottom left as well, which is going to be trying to block another potential base here of MarineLorD.
So he suicided all of his Mutalisks. He opened up enough supply to get, looked like 3 Infestors and 3 more Ultralisks, and he's going for a Greater Spire, which means he's getting ready to, if he has to eventually, deal with a massive battlecruiser army. By having the Greater Spire available, he can build Corruptors, a massive wave of them, knock down the BCs, and immediately switch into Broodlords, because Mass Corruptor doesn't really do anything if your opponent doesn't have those battlecruisers, because they're not going to be able to kill anything on the ground.
And all important to have double Spire against that kind of play, so you have double upgrades really cranking out, or at least one going whilst you're morphing in Greater Spire, because actually Greater Spire takes a whole long time to actually morph in.
Yeah, some of these tanks actually unsieged. We have Blinding Clouds being put in. Zander's going to try to make it happen right now.
Trying to move forwards against this. The siege tank line goes back for miles here, though, as he's going to try and push himself forwards. It's still a good set of Blinding Clouds. He's trying to trade off. Look at the banks that we're seeing here at the moment for Zanster. He will pull this army back for now, and he did quite a sizable bit of damage there to his opponent's army.
Yeah, that 4th base still stands, and MarineLorD with these starports finishing, he's going to trade this supply out soon. He really needed to knock down that 4th base, I feel.
Yeah, especially now if you look at the bank, of course, yes, he had a lot of minerals, but a lot of his gas was just expended, and that's the most important resource here for the Zerg moving into these very late game situations.
Yeah, I'd really like to see MarineLorD, like, killing these tumors is really important because I actually feel like one of the best things he could do right now is just throw up as many buildings in front of his army as possible. Because even if he blinding clouds all the tanks, if the Ultralisks take a couple seconds to kill a turret here, turret there, it could stall out. And I really like this. You know, we have 5 Vipers, and I think that's like the minimum that you really need to bust these armies, is you just spam out those blinding clouds and you just trade with all those bases you have and all those resources you have. And if you do it properly, you know, that's your opportunity. That's your chance as Zerg against Turtlemech.
These are the games when you get to that 40-minute mark or so, and those 5 Vipers have basically drained every other building, and like every building is at half health. You're like, oh, how did that all happen? Oh yeah, it was the Vipers. It was actually those guys, because it's going to take a lot of energy to eventually break through that kind of position.
Yeah, you got harassed by the half hit point crew of Hellions that don't actually kill anything. It's like, no, your Vipers do a lot. But it's just nice because this map control, you know, this map vision for Zanster, he sees everything. MarineLorD cannot step off of his front porch without immediately being spotted. And we see, of course, this Banshee tries to move out. It's like, we're going to go straight for that. But try, you know, it's going to send some Hellions at the same time. And you mentioned already, Kalaris, the static defense is on every single base.
Yeah, did really well with that 20 drone swell that he had a little bit ago. So Hellions can't do too much. Trying to even find a vantage point, but it's not going to work out. This wall, once again, from MarineLorD, he is relentless with it. It's going to be hard to break.
And a lot of people like to make these walls out of, like, depots, but having it turrets means the Vipers can't really step forward at all, so it complicates things even more. And it's just another thing I love about the way that he set himself up. He's leaving no stone unturned in his defense.
Sees everything with those sensor towers as well. This Banshee is going to be brought down thanks to the fact that the Fungal will reveal it once it ends up trying to go into Cloak. That's a lot of mules. That's a lot of mules.
Hey man, you're going to build walls out of turrets all day. You need to get that money from somewhere.
Need that cash. Need that cash.
So battle cruisers are coming out, and if we look at the supply on the map, if the Ultralisks don't die, there's actually not any supply to build Corruptors. Even if you got rid of the Queens and the Infestors, there's not enough Corruptors that are going to make a big impact, because then he won't have any Fungals, he won't have any Transfuse. So he needs to trade out some of these Ultralisks as these battle cruisers come out. He needs to make another push soon, I feel.
10,000 minerals, 4,000 gas here for Zanster at the moment, with an army that comprises of quite a heavy gas investment itself. And those Vikings, so if they were able to find those Vipers, that would be a fantastic pickup for them.
Yeah. Zanster, after that scan, the battle cruisers move forward. He knows there are BCs on the map. Could try to just fungal a low number of BCs and kill them with Queens. That is an option, but it's still going to take a while. Battle cruisers are quite beefy, quite tanky.
Poising at the moment, dropping down scans, trying to clean up any creep that would encroach onto his territory. And these Vipers still just make sure that they're going to be kept alive. The important thing for the Vipers is that the Infestors are kind of near at any time, because if the Vikings do actually find them, Fungal try and run away, Fungal continue to chain Fungal maybe if they're out of range of those siege tanks.
Yeah, it's a very awkward dance, because MarineLorD knows the only way he's going to win this game is if all of his forces are positioned and postured, and Zanster attacks into it and doesn't perfectly Fungal blinding cloud everything. So he just doesn't want to get caught on siege and just inch his way forward, use the BCs. The battle cruisers are the most mobile part of his army when it comes to actually dealing damage to those ground forces.
Looks like he's actually going to move in here on towards this. At least he had creep to actually move them there as quickly as possible after the first volley. Few blinding clouds go down, but a big Fungal on towards the Vikings. It's going to shred up a little bit of the damage towards them, but actually the Ultralisks have done extremely well with the blinding clouds.
Yeah, these battle cruisers are distracted by the Queens. A lot of the Ultras do take a massive beating, but that also opens up supply. MarineLorD's going to build a couple more tanks, but he's going to continue to invest into battle cruisers. This is where things get crazy. 29 Corruptors are on the way. And if you're MarineLorD and you know that 29 Corruptors are being built, you want to switch away from air as fast as possible and go for a ground army that just wins the game. But that's why he built the Greater Spire. This is a recycle push. He's going to try to clean up the BCs, clean up the Vikings, and immediately try to win the game with Broodlords before MarineLorD has time to react.
Let's see if he can. I mean, this is on the way. He sees it with the scans as well. He's got three more missile turrets going down right next to this location. He wants to be able to hold this spot right here, and he's going to have to, well, micro his little Vikings out and make sure that they don't get Fungal, because if they do, poor command center, you're going to be a sacrifice.
Yeah, I still think this is okay. He just needs to pull a little bit of this Air Force away. There are a lot of Corruptors. He needs those missile turrets, to be honest, with this fight, but a couple of these Ultras actually managed to grab siege tanks while they're at it. And I don't know about trading away all the battle cruisers. At least he's building Vikings. Okay, that's the most important part, because Broodlords will be the next step here. 16 more Corruptors are being built.
Wow, and actually, although that being said and done, he's been able to clean up so many of those Vikings. There's not that many missile turrets in this location at all, but he still needs to continue microing them, and he's lost a lot of his ground army. Has Zanster. He's replenishing. Oh, miss of that fungal. Needs to keep those Vikings alive.
Yeah, that's actually really crazy to think about. You know, this army is very, very slow. 7 Ultras are being added to this too, so he's really trying to mess with them, because you might think to yourself, well, Thors can be good against this setup. They can splash the Corruptors, they can hit the Broodlords from long range, but very smart of him. You know, you got to recognize that those Ultras are still a very big threat. This balance of late game tech is really, really smart, but still, he's actually not gone for Broodlords, and that concerns me, because 29 Corruptors are not going to win in this game.
Well, only be able to hit air, and they're going to corrupt as much as they can here while they do push forwards against these Vikings. The Vikings will start dancing back, though, with just a little bit of aid from the missile turrets here to actually kill some of these off. And actually, the Corruptors aren't doing the best of jobs there. They're pushing this away, and the Ultralists coming in from the ground to try and help this out, but the ground forces are mobilizing. They're going to be able to shut that down eventually.
Yeah, I'm really surprised we didn't actually see any Broodlord play. This just makes it so much easier for MarineLorD, because he's still building battlecruisers.
The Corruptors are taking so much free damage at the moment as well. Yeah, the Ultras are going to be able to push the siege tanks away towards the bottom, but, well, to be honest, I mean, the banks and the war of attrition here for Zanster is not doing too bad, but doesn't have that much gas left at the moment.
Hey man, Great Wall of Missile Turrets counters Corruptors. Today we learned.
It's done okay. It's done okay for itself here. Zanster is in not too bad a spot at the moment. Army supply 117 against 81, but he needs to find those juicy locations to be able to shut MarineLorD down.
I mean, the most important thing to keep in mind is that Zanster still has had access to so many more bases that he can afford to throw these massively expensive armies at MarineLorD, who isn't mining in his main base anymore, who's barely mining in his natural, whose third base is out of minerals, and his fourth base actually doesn't have any minerals either. MarineLorD has actually managed to starve himself out by building hundreds of missile turrets.
Yeah, you can be locked in your corner for as much as you like, but if you've just run out of everything in that corner, then what are you supposed to do? Zanster at the moment playing a very, very strong late game here against MarineLorD as push comes in. Great fungals on towards all these Vikings as well, as the corruption go down on the battle cruisers, as well as some of those Vikings to try and bring them down as quickly as possible. They're not dying that quickly underneath this, though.
This has just been a phenomenal push. I mean, Zanster played this out perfectly, really. The use of the Vipers, realizing, okay, you're going to have to suicide a lot of your Vipers, but that's, you know, that's just the way it works.
Wow.
All you need are a couple of those blinding clouds. You make those big pushes, and Zanster actually does it. GG is called. Starves out MarineLorD in Game 2.
Impressive stuff. Impressive stuff there. What are you going to do if you're locked in that corner forever and you have nothing left there, MarineLorD? Very good tech switches, very good decision making to be able to eventually break those kind of locations there from Zanster.
Yeah, from the get-go, this was just a much better, cleaner game for Zanster. You know, Iron Fortress, first Overlord goes the wrong direction. You know, immediately he's at a disadvantage. He doesn't know what his opponent is up to, but we get the 2-player map, immediately sees, okay, I'm not being cheesed. It's going to be a fast Banshee play. He has everything he needs to defend against it, and just the late game decision making was perfect, because I really feel the best answer for these types of styles is a lot of Vipers and denying those bases, because you're going to force out so much to deal with them that, you know, I thought that many Corruptors was a mistake, but if you have 7 mining bases, it doesn't really matter.
You can just throw anything you like at him, and Zanster, from that point, you know, from the very word go of that game, he knows what he's going to be expecting to play against, and he knows just to have that full game plan, that 30-minute game plan in his head before the game even begins, as long as he knows it's mech. So, regardless, guys, we are going to go to a short break, and when we are back, it will be the decider game. It will be game number 3 here from the World Championship Series between MarineLorD and Zanster. One last match decides who is going to be moving on to the round of 8 already here in the World Championship Series as MarineLorD faces off against Zanster. And to be honest with you, as much as MarineLorD loves his corner style, his corner play, Zanster, he had it all figured out in that game.
Considering that it is the map for meching versus Zerg in the current ladder pool, I'm actually very, very impressed that Zanster was able to really come together. And I guess from his perspective, he might have just been thinking, I know how to handle this as long as I know what's going on. And maybe that's why he wanted Coda, just because it's a 2-player map.
Now we move on to Cactus Valley here between these two players. Nathanius, what do you make of this map considering kind of the current styles that we're seeing from both players here?
There's just so many more attack angles, honestly, for Zanster if he wants to play a similar style against MarineLorD. And for MarineLorD, you have the option again, like you did on Iron Fortress, since it's a 4-player map, to try something a little bit riskier. But at this point, if MarineLorD feels confident with Bio, I think this map favors that style a lot more. It's just way more open, assuming it's not cross-spawn. If it's cross-spawn, then MarineLorD should go 100% mech if he thinks it's his best chance of winning, because that's a very difficult spot to play. But otherwise, I would like to see him bust out some Marine Marauder medevac.
Well, let's get into it then. It will be game number 3. This decides who moves on to the round of 8 live from Krakow in a few days' time. So we do have MarineLorD and Zanster. We have spawned to the bottom left-hand corner. It will be our blue Terran representing Team Millennium. It is MarineLorD.
Certainly will not be excited to see he is cross-spawns against this red Zerg in the northeast representing Sweden and Team Property. He is Zanster.
What a result it would be for that young guy if he is able to move on to the top 8 against MarineLorD here in this final match of Group A. Well,
what a crazy thought. You know, you're like, okay, well, he comes in his group, it's like Mana. Okay, Mana's playing on his home turf. You know, everybody plays better in their home turf, and he's got the results, the history, the experience. Like, no way he'll lose. You know, no way Mana's gonna lose to this guy. At least that's what I was thinking. And then comes out, manages to force a lot of sloppy play out of Mana, and then now tied 1 apiece against the one of the French hopes here for the global finals potentially.
Yeah. I mean, let's face it, in terms of the European scene right now, as a European, MarineLorD is the Terran. Is there any disputing that in the European scene, aside from 4GG, who is obviously a Korean?
Yeah. I mean, Bunny had his hot streak at the start, but the French players have just gotten so much better, so faster than all the other regions, and just constantly working together like this.
Exactly.
And you start the year and you're like, okay, well, Bunny's our guy. And then as it goes on and on, you're like, actually, I think, like MarineLorD, he's just gotten so much better. And you just consider all the places he can pull, and you see those tendencies taken from, like, even his teammate, like 4GG was one of the first players that would just, open with that fast Banshee, Hellion with the Armory, think about doing the Hellbat push, and if they scout anything weird, they just immediately swap the Reactor Starport and Tech Lab Factory. And when you only have that, it's a very low amount of production, and it's something that only 4GG does, but MarineLorD, takes these little adjustments, and that's what makes someone so good, especially with just how active that French scene is.
Yeah, exactly. And let's think about the flow of this series just a little bit for a moment. MarineLorD, game 1, yes, he went for mech, but he went for that kind of javelin throw of the Hellions through the middle of the map to do big economical damage. Game number 2, played a bit more defensively himself, kind of fell behind in the overall economy game, and then was just kind of obliterated by wave after wave after wave. Here on a map like this, does MarineLorD go back to the style that did him well in the first game, but something like a Hellion push in towards the natural locations, it's very difficult because these tight little chokes, surely.
Yeah, it's especially difficult just because of these pool openings that we've just seen so much of as far as the fast speed. If you want to run Hellions by and the Zerg player has those links, if it's not a Blue Flame Hellion push, you're going to get cleaned up. It's something that can put you far behind very quickly. MarineLorD's going to get this really fast bunker again. He's saying, okay, better safe than sorry. I want my natural a little bit more quickly this game, not going to be as slow perhaps. And I'm mostly curious to know whether he's going to take that fast second gas again, or if we will see a fast third command center.
Could something like an earlier Banshee poke for MarineLorD work out here? What are his aggressive options that he would have as a meching player later?
I mean, everything should be better as far as options, just because the way this map works, like, you don't have an Overlord that close to MarineLorD's base. Right. The closest Overlord would go in through the natural, but your tech's going to be in the main, which means if you fly by the natural, Marines step out of bunker, Marines kill Overlord, Zerg players blind.
Yep.
So I think MarineLorD should be able to get away with whatever he wants to do. It's just a matter of, it is cross spawn, so if Zanster is active and looking at like the Watchtower, for example, it's going to be pretty difficult for MarineLorD to still slip by him.
Alright, well, Starport's on the way for MarineLorD behind all of this, with the second gas as well, so and he's just going to be switching out that factory to have those Hellions be popping on out. They can be used defensively, they can be used aggressively for the most part, whatever he really wants to do with them. They are the versatile unit early on against, you know, limited options here for Zanster, especially since it's cross spawns, and something like a little bit of a roach push early on would be pretty crazy.
It's not nothing terrible. I mean, you recognize this map is cross spawn, and I love to just take this third base. Big focus this game should be that creep spread. I really, really like the creep spread on Coda. It was over everything.
Yeah, it was.
He creeped the whole entire map. Very, very good play. I actually really liked that.
It was like an overweighted ice cream where the corner of MarineLorD's base was the cone and everything else was creep ice cream. It was beautiful there by Zanster.
Did not have enough napkins to keep it from overflowing.
No, clearly not. It spilled over and caused quite a mess for MarineLorD.
And that's just like one of the things we've seen that's been so nice. Like Zanster with the map presence, constantly being on the map. We saw that against Mana too. You know, on Coda against Mana actually, it was his map presence. You saw Mana step a little bit too far outside of his safe zone, and just immediately pounced on him where he didn't have enough force fields to actually block everything off, and he lost the game at that point. So it's just been really, really nice to watch someone this fast play the game.
And surprise, surprise, super gas times here for MarineLorD, but a little bit supply blocked at the moment. 2 supply depots are about to finish up, likewise the 3rd command center. This will alleviate all of that. But Medevac on the way here for MarineLorD. So we were talking about the choke points before being a bit of a nuisance there towards the natural. He's not even looking to bother with those choke points.
Yeah, so here's the vibe I'm getting from this. This Viking is heading to the northeast while these Hellions do a bit of pressure.
Yeah.
They want to kill the Overlords outside of this base so that the Hellions can get dropped by the Medevacs. Then the next 4 Hellions get elevated by the Medevacs, and we just have 8 Hellbats inside the main base of Zanster without a Baneling nest on the map. And that could actually be a game winner if he's able to get in without being spotted, because there's no Banelings on the map. There are some links. The Spire's not going to be done in time to defend against this.
So, I mean, he's the kind of thinking the same way we were with the game flow sitting in this series. You know, being aggressive early on was working against Zanster, but it's a little bit harder on this map via the ground. Let's go in via the air and see if we can put on some punishment there.
Yeah, I really like that he has a couple of Hellions just sitting outside of the 3rd base. He doesn't need to drop all of them, but look at this link spread. Zanster's like, what are you doing? Why are you trying to pull me around? Like, what's, you know,
nice.
Quit joshing me, man. And now he's going to come in, and these Hellions should be pretty quickly attacked, yeah.
They will take a little bit of damage. The Hellbats actually morph in. They can be healed by this Medevac, and he picks up 2. Brilliant move.
Nice save. These Hellbats are going to push 3rd base at the same time, really stressing Zanster's multitasking.
That was very, very well done there for him to pick up the 2 that were about to die off. 12lings are on the way, but that's not exactly the easiest thing to use to actually clean up Hellbats. They get into this mineral line. There are Mutalisks on the way, but they're nowhere near finishing up. He's to actually save that Hellbat, but he doesn't manage to pick it up or anything. But they're still getting an okay trade.
Yeah, I like this. He's managed to really make a little bit more happen with this aggressive play. These drones running for their lives.
That.
Yeah, keep running, guys. Don't. But the thing is, even though he didn't kill that many of the drones, they're not mining.
Yeah.
They're still not mining.
Oh, no,
queen.
Wrong way. Oh. Okay, so, yeah, he loses a few still. That could have gone a whole lot worse if those Hellbats had turned around.
Well, that's still a whole minute and a half where these drones were not doing anything other than running and trying not to die. But, you know, that's a big hit to the income of Zanster. It's going to slow him down quite a bit. He's just now getting those roaches, those evolution chambers, but I think we got a pretty rock-solid setup from MarineLorD once again.
Yep, he's looking okay. Now, in terms of a mech style, you were mentioning on this map, once you get towards, like, when we get in the your corner position here for MarineLorD, locking down between the 3rd and 4th base, is that quite difficult here for the meching player?
Yeah, I think so. You spread yourself out a lot on this map. If there's a map where you want to do that 160, 170 supply mech push with, like, +2 attack, this is that map, because the more you spread yourself out, it's also really hard to stop the Zerg from taking all those bases, as we saw with the static defense and the creep spread. You really need to focus on getting a big timing in. There's actually not that many missile turrets, so life's getting a little bit difficult here for MarineLorD.
Yeah, this is what he's going to have to do with this Thor, Medevac, like micro, but at the same time, the Medevac is very low, so he's got to be a bit careful about how he's going to do that, but needs to make sure that that Thor can be very mobile, as it were.
It's fun to micro Medevacs and Thors, but you don't want to get too cheeky with it.
No. And we'll look to just try and defend this location. Mutalisk's doing an okay job of being able to keep his opponent back, but at the same time, didn't really do too much damage.
Yeah, the single armory is really giving me a vibe that we could see some action here as +2 completes. You know, that hive is still coming in relatively quick. I don't know that ultras would be done in time to stop a mech push. If he pushes like the 4th base, then you know, I actually do think that Zanster's in a pretty reasonable position, all things said and done. If he forces MarineLorD to play the slow turtle mech, I think Zanster's actually in a really good spot just because of how well he handled him last game.
Yeah, did very, very nicely for himself. And at this moment in time, we have plenty of creep going on once again. We have this Hellbat drop up towards the top looking to threaten. And was it Hellbats or was it Sea Shanks, actually? Okay, it's Hellbats. I was like, if it had been Sea Shanks, that would have been weird, but... All right.
Yeah, it's happened before.
Yeah.
It's not unheard of, actually. They're quite good at sniping these bases if you leave them untouched. And Hellbat Drop's going to go into the main base here as these Hellions try to distract in the center of the map. Drones, please run.
Oh no.
Not a good place to be.
These are the lazy drones from before. They're continuing to be lazy. That's 8 drones already going down, even a few lings. And he saves the Hellbats to the point where he repositions them and won't be able to kill off tons.
Phenomenal, actually. Just really precise movements. Yes, the Mutalisk's going to get them, but that means the Mutalisk have to go all the way out of position. I think 8 drones and those lings definitely got the work done that he needed to do because Zanster does not want to be rebuilding workers right now. He wants to build a bank and get 20 Ultralisks out to kill this army before it comes and kills him.
Viper's on the way as well here for Zanster to just try and eventually bank up plenty of energy and be able to throw down the Blinding Clouds when and if he needs them. Again, you know, it's not only a good aggressive tool for when he wants to push on, if the Terran starts moving out, they can be used very well defensively as well.
Yeah, and this is just, you know, it's starting to give me, I'm getting chills, man. We're going back to where we were in the last map. And for all the players out there that really struggle against mech and really don't like it, MarineLorD did do some damage again this game, a pretty reasonable amount without taking too much back in return. And he is still in a very vulnerable position because he wants to get this 4th, but he's so spread out now. And this fast hive from Zanster, I'm quite concerned. You know, all he needs to do is just keep getting these Vipers, and I think get back to 5, get like 5, 6 Vipers, and he can do a similar push style again and just say, you're never getting a 4th base.
You've also got to remember that if MarineLorD, someone who has his eyes on the big prize at the end, trying to get to BlizzCon with like, you know, trying to run through this tournament and win the whole thing, if he doesn't win this game right now and has to go through into the round of 8 in a 2nd place finish or something like that, or not make it at all, going in through a 2nd place finishing and facing off against a 1st place finisher from another group is a pretty brutal spot considering the players we've got going
that
here.
Could be disastrous when you think about the fact that just like guys like Hydra, Jaedong are all in this tournament. You know, not the guys you want to run into in a dark StarCraft alleyway, that's for sure.
For now, plenty of upgrades on the way for Zanster, who is looking to hold his own beyond a lot of people's expectations. I pegged him in the first series, and Roddy went all the way with pegging him here in this series, and so far, Zanster is doing really well for himself against this mech play.
I am surprised that we're not seeing additional starports being added on just yet. There's a little bit of money that MarineLorD could dump in that direction. We're not seeing Greater Spire yet, but it's just something to keep in mind. As it is going to be Ultras again, he knows for sure now. Those Hellions just went into a meat grinder.
Yeah, that's you stole the words right out of my mouth. Actually, I was about to say exactly the same thing. That was a conveyor belt of death. That was not happy for those poor little Hellions.
There's one more starport coming in, so recognize that importance. I think if you're playing against someone who does the Mass Corruptor thing and actually manages to win with it, which is, you know, Mass Corruptor is actually usually where the Zerg loses because they can't turn that supply into anything useful. But it's you know, because the Terran it's very hard to starve out a Terran. But I really feel like MarineLorD should focus a little bit more on Ravens if he thinks that that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Because a couple more, you know, it's just really just like a few point defense drones with that big air engagement, and he would have won it last game.
In theory, could you mix in a few more Thors into your composition as well if your opponent's going to try and do that?
Yeah, I don't mind Thors either.
Yeah.
I think Thors are also very strong versus Ultralisks as well. The biggest advantage of tanks is that it's just easier to spread them out because the Blinding Clouds are very tough to get far enough back.
Yeah.
And if you're hitting that wall of missile turrets, the tanks are going to be able to obviously hit those Ultralisks from a further distance as well.
For now, he's done a good job of being able to push away these armies.
Yeah, I do agree, actually. I would really like to see a little bit more Thor play simply because this is not an army that's been banking on Roach Hydra at all. which in my opinion is what you need tanks against. I don't think you need tanks versus Ultras. If you're not getting blinding clouded, your Thor's focus firing down will crush them with the range that they have.
Yeah, as long as they're slightly separated and not taking good cleaves once you actually get able to breach the walls. But even breaching the walls alone for Ultralisks can sometimes be a tall order against the might of Thors.
And these Ultras are looking for an opportunity to push in. The Vikings are not quite placed to defend against this. I'm surprised didn't move in and throw a few blinding clouds, but that wall would have bought them time. The Vipers, no, don't want to just lose these.
Oh, and he doesn't have any fungals or anything like that. No Infestors there to be able to save it, so losing 3 instantly, and now he starts the Infestors, understanding his mistake.
Yeah, there's 3 Infestors coming in. Pathogen Glands will be done in time for them to complete. But there we go. There's the Behemoth Reactor, so we will see battle cruisers at some point in this game. Really interesting going for the Behemoth Reactor instead of Corvid Reactor. You know, I really feel like Ravens are just that staple safety unit if you're going to turtle up. But going for battle cruisers before Ravens, not necessarily bad, but you're just a lot more susceptible to those corruptors like we talked about.
And for now, there's plenty of upgrades still on the way here for Zanster, who... Oh, this poor little small Terran contingent moved out quite far, but that being said, there's still siege tanks for days, so he is fine.
Yeah, there has to be a big reliance on the sensor towers because you're really spreading yourself thin when you do stuff like this. It's so easy to just get caught out of position or blindsided.
Where are you going, Command Center? Are you the scouting Command Center? No, you're coming up towards the top here to try and take this base. Okay, so slowly, the more MarineLorD is spreading himself out, surely the more his defenses are weaker in certain locations.
Yes, 100%. And that's one of the reasons why you see a lot of Terrans in a position like this, especially since he's approaching max on battle cruisers. Just throw away a bunch of SCVs, build a few more tanks to defend if you want, but the workers don't really matter that much anymore because you just have so many orbitals.
Ultra's going to try and come in and just cleave down some of these missile turrets. Anything that they can get there would be nice, but this is the first-person view once again to MarineLorD, realizing that he's going to have to reposition his defenses here, and even the siege tanks get repositioned, but the Planetary Fortress falls, which he has to then replace, which is slowly biting away at the bank here of MarineLorD.
I like that he had the PF there, though. You know, it buys them a little bit of time. You definitely don't want to be in a spot where a couple of those Ultras slink through and, you know, chew away on your starports because Zanster, once again, he's got a lot of bases. He's really taking advantage of the immobility of this mech army and telling himself, yes, I can get, you know, banks for days.
It's fantastic to watch this first-person view of MarineLorD, though. Seeing exactly how he's going to handle it against that, that is like something out of a cinematic from StarCraft 2. All those Ultras trying to cleave through this wall, but it's just not doable right now.
Yeah, and I love the missile turrets up front. Just really smart. You see MarineLorD focuses on immediately replacing those walls. He knows if you're playing mech, mineral units are never going to be what wins you games. And I also really like that he's thinking forward about this. You know, we have Corvid Reactor now finishing with durable materials, 2 upgrades that make Ravens, you know, a true force to be reckoned with.
Good creep spread there as he was able to replenish that after the Overlord got pushed away. And once again, our lovely Command Center giving us a nice show at the front and being able to scout out what it needs to. But that's a really good point with the Ravens that can come along. So once again, we could be in for the long haul, and the Ravens add a very strong dynamic because the splash damage of Seeker missiles is so powerful.
Yeah, you just got to be careful with them. That's all. Ravens are generally terrible against Ultralisks unless you have like unless you have enough Ravens to actually drop 5 Seekers on each and just kill all of them instantly.
Yeah.
Ravens are pretty bad versus Ultras just because, you know, the auto turrets don't really do much versus them. Individual Seeker missiles don't really do much, and then obviously point defense drone doesn't affect them because they have a melee attack. But they are 100% instrumental in defending against any type of corruptor play.
That one siege tank had a whole lot of work to do. He was the janitor up towards the top here and didn't manage to sweep up enough of those creep tumors because now, even if he did, it doesn't really matter. This army's like going to push him away.
Yeah, just take some pot shots here with that Yamato cannon against these Ultralisks. There's still like a lone Viper out here. It is quite surprising, playing around with such little anti-air, just like waiting to throw away Ultras, trade into Corruptors. But I guess Zanster's more concerned with building up that bank than he is anything else.
I'm so impressed by Zanster's play in this series.
Very patient.
Yeah, very patient. Not willing to just throw so much away, just slowly breaking down his opponent. These siege tanks on either side here doing well. That command center wasn't even a planetary fortress that time, so just brings down a few missile turrets and backs on off.
Yep, and I love that he's immediately like, okay, replace those missile turrets. That's the most important thing I need to do is just keep my walls up, because if the wall, even if it's not a super vulnerable point, if the wall isn't there and you can just run in, you don't have that time to react, especially when your army is just so slow.
Just keeping these guys healed up as the battle cruisers do find them and drop a Yamato on one.
It's like, yeah, Yamato cannon it, and then it's like immediately gets transfused. Like,
yeah.
Okay, there we go.
That was good.
Double tap.
Yeah.
better way to guarantee that kill.
Very important to get that double tap for sure. We'll have now this army still just poising around. He's taken every other base on the other side of the map, though.
He's actually taken every single base on the side of the map.
Yeah.
I will say another, even if he's not killing the Ultras, he is taking all the energy away from the Queens, so that if there's a big fight, they won't be able to transfuse each other or the Ultralisks.
And we'll make it a little harder for him. Is there any moment here where this Terran starts throwing away SCVs to make a bigger army against this, or is the bank just too much here for Zanster?
5 minutes ago. I'm kind of surprised, to be honest. I mean, MarineLorD is a much better player than me, but he's building up a pretty good count of orbital commands. And I mean, scanning is nice and all, but you don't need to drop a couple meals to support mech production. He could have such a bigger army. I think if he like trades out maybe 40 workers now for more battle cruisers, I have a really hard time seeing how he'd lose. But you know, MarineLorD just wants to play this game that patiently.
Vengeful sacks going down here for Zanster with still a huge bank looking to drop some of this army on, maybe towards a location. How well defended is the main base actually down to the bottom? But, well, hold the phone. He's going to try and kill off some of these missile turrets and then no doubt back off once again here. The Viper's being kept all the way at the back.
I think he's looking for an opportunity to get fungals with the infestors on Vikings that go too far forward, but he's just like, yeah, just come here. Come into my base. I have battlecruisers that will kill you. And it's like, you actually didn't really kill all that much with this push.
Yeah, and once again, Fungal might be able to land on some of these Vikings at the front. Do catch some of them, but they still need to back on out there. The battlecruisers are going to shoo them off.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the real question is, what does Zanster want to do with everything that he has? I really like Overlord drops in this position, simply because they're so spread out. There's that many turrets?
That's a lot of turrets. I was asking before, I was like, well, how many does he really have there?
62. Come on, there's got to be some place where...
What's the catch?
Okay, if he goes from the very northwest side of the map, he could drop down where all the orbitals are. And then there's a planetary and the mech army, so a couple planetaries.
This is no longer Corner Lord, this is Side Lord. He's been able to take the majority of his side of the map.
Yeah, he's become Avalord, man. Yeah. This is the most... I don't know of any turtles that exist in nature that actually defend themselves this well.
No.
It's a new breed.
Yep. And we'll be able to actually get himself some Viking kills for just a few infestors, which isn't too bad at all. Needs to go back and repair those up.
And now the Raven switch begins. Well, it's happening.
Yeah, it is. It is. And again, the thing is though, is that with Zanster's bank, doesn't he just try and again throw wave after wave after wave and try and deal with it, like with Corruptors afterwards?
Yeah, I think so. But now the Ravens are going to complicate that. And he's actually just built so many missile turrets that if you think about how many Corruptors he lost to missile turrets on the last map, now he'll actually lose all of them if he tries to dive on these battlecruisers.
Well, he's making a few links here and there as well as Zanster just to try and complicate the process here from MarineLorD, and actually losing himself a Viper there from the Vikings. They're keeping themselves in a better spot. There's actually no Fungals there at all. There's no Infestors. So this is going to be quite the trade here for him. He's even repairing that Planetary Fortress with the SCVs to try and slow this down. Links falling forwards here, trying to get on top of those siege tanks. Not doing too bad for themselves. He finally breaks through the Planetary Fortress, and so do the Ultralisks. But everything's eventually going to be cleaned up at a big expense here.
Yeah, the ultimate defensive style. He's actually only ahead in resources lost by about 5,000, which, all things said and done, is actually quite good for Zanster.
What are we going to have? What's going to pop up?
It's very rare to have a meching Terran floating gas, but he's just built so many missile turrets, it's not even possible.
6 drones. What is he deciding on? What is it going to be?
When you have this many resources, you're like, I just want more drones, actually.
Yeah.
It's like, you have $7 billion. It's like, I'd actually just rather invest in some,
39.
Low-risk stocks.
50 Corruptors in production. Let's go.
That's what I'm talking about.
Against 8 Ravens at the moment, trying to bank themselves up energy. Where are the Ravens? Are they with the army?
Yeah, there's a good few of them. I think there's 4 with the battlecruisers and 4 on their way there.
Okay.
They all have a point defense drone available.
Yeah. Although 50 Corruptors, they're going to chew through that pretty quickly.
Yeah, I guess at this point, MarineLorD scans. If you see this as a MarineLorD, just pull all your air forces back and just move forward with your mech army, because now there's nothing that can There's nothing that can kill your ground army. There are 4 infestors.
What's his? Yeah, is it only 4 infestors
and 3 zerglings?
Is that all it is?
Yeah, but the thing is, like, this is like the ultimate catch-22, because 3 broodlords, okay, whatever. To build enough broodlords to win this game, he has to reduce his corrupted count to a point where he actually can't beat the battlecruisers anymore. So he's like,
oh dear,
he's stuck. Like, 3 broodlords, okay, fierce, intimidating, but not going to kill everything that's on the map right now.
Pretty slow about it, that's for sure. Pretty slow about it. We're seeing this small force up towards the top here. MarineLorD knows exactly the position he's in at the moment. He's dropped scans across the entire map. He's seen his opponent's army. He is going to be able to bust down some of these locations, which are mining at the moment.
Yeah, this is, you know, I imagine, like, it's like I feel like an artist being able to just sit and watch Picasso work. This is really something else.
And they're really clumping up at the moment. He pulls some of those in, but the fungal growths are going to go down. PDDs have been thrown down as well here to try and soak up some of the shots. And there's some of the Hunter-Seeker missiles actually landing in towards this, but a lot of these corruptors aren't dead just yet. Needs to throw in some more for sure.
Yeah, there's about 26 of them left. The battlecruisers have all been destroyed. There are still 3 broodlords with this army. The Ravens are slowly being pushed back. He's baiting him into the missile turrets.
Yeah, and still has quite the bank though. 28 Mutalisks on the way here.
That is a phenomenal choice, because there is no way he's going to be able to set himself up against this.
Throws in some Seeker missiles once again on towards it, but it was a Broodlord. I think he needs to kill with a corruptors or something.
Zanster's way of dealing with this was perfect. I think MarineLorD, really, that was not an important position for him to defend, in all honesty.
He's about to see those Mutalisks. They're about to clean up this small, or at least just fly across them, and those siege tanks are going to be going home with a very, very sad story to tell very soon, because right now MarineLorD doesn't have much to his name at all.
No, I think Zanster's actually going to win this match. If MarineLorD just, with 4,000 gas in the bank, if he just threw away 3/4 of his SCVs, he could have had 10, 15 more Ravens, and then just mass point defense drone or Seeker missile. I think he cleans that fight up easy and wins this game, but...
there weren't enough Seekers going on towards the corruptors. It's 100% for sure. It's very, very difficult now for him to actually try and clean up this Mutalisk army that's going to be so intimidating.
And this might sound pretty messed up, but I think if he had more missile turrets there, it actually would have been able to make the difference.
Well, they're going to go to work now here against some of these Mutalisks. He doesn't even care at this point. He still has 5k in the bank.
See, if he had fought here with his battlecruisers, where he has all these missile turrets, it would have been impossible for him to push in with Air Force. And I'd offer that right now, this is actually still a pretty bad spot for Zanster to push in. But 10 Ultralisks. There is nothing to answer for 10 Ultralisks coming in.
Oh, Zanster's tech switches this game have been brilliant at the moment. He still has better income. He still has that bottom right-hand corner of the map.
I still can't believe there's 60 missile turrets on the map.
Yeah, and a lot of them were in the main and not really doing a whole lot. They were denying drops and things like that, and well, it's not really happened.
Yeah, that's actually really crazy when you don't have enough minerals to build Ravens. That's something else. Now he's building 7 of them at once.
Needs those out. Really needs those out now. But then it comes back to your point before. There's 10 Ultralisks on the way. Unless he's got a huge amount of Ravens with Seeker missiles focusing on those, not the Mutalisks. He drops the scan and saw them just now.
Zanster's played this brilliantly because he's max. He still has a lot of money left. But MarineLorD, I think, survived that Mutaswitch, because I was mostly worried that the Mutaswitch would somehow get onto what army forces he had left. The Ultras, I think, are a better game-ending unit at this point, but there's still so much SimCity and planetaries to go through that he's had a lot of time. 1 wave of mules dropped equals 5 battlecruisers. Welcome to Terran.
Welcome to the Mule game. He's going to try and keep this fortress alive. Not going to work, though. Seekers get thrown down, but they're underneath this army.
Desperate times call for desperate measures, Kalaris.
Yeah, these Thors aren't going to be able to hold on at all against this Ultra Wave that's powered on in here. Zanster's maxed out at the moment. MarineLorD is down significantly in supply. His army, not so much, but he just doesn't really have the economy.
Yeah, we see those Vikings landing hot cinematic style, actually cleaning up the Ultralisks.
Complete reverse.
Yeah, man, this is really switching things up here at the World Championship Series. Auto turret's going to get dropped with that building armor that they have, trying to soak up a little bit more of this, but the Vikings are dying. The Ravens are running out of energy.
And Seeker's missiles get trying to throw down onto the infestors to the right-hand side. Not going to be enough.
Thors, focus the Ultras, No, they're attacking Lings. It's not going to cut it.
Very, very difficult times here for MarineLorD at the moment. Zanster is been able to clean up that all-important mining base up towards the north.
He's basically throwing the deep ball on this one. These 5 battlecruisers that he's got coming out now basically have to win him the game.
And I'm not sure it's going to work out at the moment. Zanster here, what a performance so far he has had here in the round of 16 in this WCS season. Don't forget how he's actually the road here throughout this in a group that looked a little bit tough for him, and he's held on like a champion against MarineLorD.
Yeah, and he just has so many bases. Like, Zanster is in absolutely no risk of running out of money anytime soon. He's a rich boy, he's got everything he needs, and MarineLorD is...
even a Ling. Mules can't kill it. They can't attack it. That's
I mean,
so
it's
sad.
like, okay, you have enough mules to do this drop, but now you actually don't have any gas income because you need bases for that.
Yeah. This is really tough here. And still the bank consists of 3,000 gas here
What a
for
game.
Zanster. So well played out. The creep spread has been meticulous. It's been keeping him movable all over the map. He's been able to tech switch like a beast. And these Ultralists continue to be beasts through now towards the natural.
Yeah, I mean, if he had spent the gas into the Ravens earlier and he had this many Ravens in that initial fight instead of SCVs, I'm pretty sure that MarineLorD had the perfect army composition. But the whole reason why you play this composition is because you can throw away SCVs and get 180 army supply. And by not doing that, he basically avoided the best part about playing this style, and that is being able to play without any economy, rely just on mules and a handful of SCVs. And Zanster he's just been out-mighting, out-macroing, and at this point, outplaying him.
And trying to clean up desperately. Any Terran worth the salt at this point, you know, with those battle cruisers, with those Ravens, will stick around because energy is something that is extremely, extremely potent in this kind of army, but still, it is looking very difficult here for MarineLorD to recover.
I would often argue that if you have 8 battle cruisers and 16 Ravens, the game should be unlosable, but then you realize that he had a super huge bank, and he had 60-some SCVs during that big fight. He has 8 BCs and 16 Ravens, but he's only at 125 supply. Like, if he's able to just drop mules and have those 11 SCVs mine gas, with how many orbitals, this game still could have been doable.
And he'll try and break down these as much as possible. Every single bit of damage he does here with Infestors is brilliant because there's not that much money from MarineLorD to even repair those Ravens at this point.
Yeah, it's all about cost effectiveness, I guess, in this scenario. But I still feel like the money should be there for Zanster to knock this down. Like, MarineLorD has the ultimate army composition. I actually don't like these auto turrets. They're a bit flippant. He needs point defense drone. He needs it.
Yeah,
he's
you
not,
need the energy.
He's not going to win this game if Zanster gets these 28 Corruptors out and attacks this army without there being like at least 10 point defense drones. And it doesn't look like there's more than 2, maybe 3 at this point.
And here come the Corruptor numbers now, as we have still 1,000 gas available for Zanster, still those bases down to the bottom right-hand corner being quite healthy, and all of these Ravens are within just half a volley's worth of death. This is going to be difficult for him to deal with, because, as you said, he doesn't have that much energy.
Yep, now he's going to max out on Corruptors. He is at 37. He will go all the way back up to 50.
Brilliant stuff.
Good luck.
Well played out here by Zanster at the moment. He is just looking for the nail in the coffin, the finishing blow here to try and move him on to the round of 8. It's going to be a fungal going down onto the battle cruisers. Extra fungals will follow things up. He catches all the Ravens at the back. There is nothing to be able to clean up these Corruptors, as he's going to try and throw down some Seeker missiles here to clean it up, but it's definitely not enough.
Nah, not enough Seeker missiles. The Ravens are running out of energy. They can't fight these Corruptors on their own, and there's still just so much money for Zanster. He remains maxed out, and he's just going to move in, clean all of this up. Seeker missile all day, but MarineLorD just does not have what he needs to stop the next wave of forces that are going to come out.
Trying to send Hellions in desperation here to every single mining base. Battle cruisers up to the top here are going to get caught out by themselves, I should think, here, and they will fall very, very fast. Just trying to trade off anything he can. I mean, 128 armor supply to 80. MarineLorD wants to try and go through in first place, but it's difficult.
Yeah, Zanster, you know, he's taking some interesting fights over top of these missile turrets and whatnot, but I still feel like this army should be untouchable. He's making me nervous, though, flying his Corruptors over missile turrets. He's flying his Corruptors over the auto turrets. I'm like, come on, man, you should have this one.
Yeah, he doesn't have that much gas left. Imagine if the Hellions actually found a way down towards the bottom and did some
those Hellions, there's not really anything there at the bottom base. I mean, these Hellions are trying to kill queens. Like, this is actually just really awkward.
Yeah, you're gonna have to run away there, Hellions.
Send your Hellions to the southeast and pray.
Yeah.
Well,
there's quite a few spines, but in the end, just try and toast up as many drones as you can and hope. Because he doesn't really have much more hope than that.
Actually, there are a bunch. He added on so many more spine crawlers. I really don't think that MarineLorD can do this anymore, but he's putting up his dukes. He's trying real hard.
Yeah, Going to try and continue on against this. Just has to run away now from the Corruptors here, as they will get themselves small pickings. Really good separation.
Can you please just clump all your Corruptors up on top of each other and then also move them on top of your Ultras and Infestors?
Please, pretty please.
That might help, but even then I'm still not sure.
Still 6 Hellions in production. Now he tries to find his way down here. Hellbats is actually not a bad choice to clean up all these spines, and will be able to try and deal with these locations. He's desperately clinging on.
And then Big Daddy Ultralisk shows up.
Oh yeah.
Party's over.
He'll deal with you.
Party's over. You're grounded. Go home. Go home, Hellbats. There's nothing left for you here. And Zanster remains maxed out. MarineLorD has just been slowly chipped away at. It's a magical thing to think about what the Ravens have done to prolong this game for the last 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And then you think about what they could have done if they existed 15 minutes ago before MarineLorD lost this game.
Yeah, and it's going to try and kill off a few Infestors towards the middle. At least he'll deny some Fungals from actually being able to hit stuff. But when you see 6 Hellions being able to try and defend against those, there you go. GG, well played. Zanster is able to make the top 8 here in the World Championship Series. The most outstanding performance of his career so far.
Great job toppling the Mech Terran player.
Absolutely fantastic performances here by Zanster. Wonderful plays, being able to defeat MarineLorD 2-1, and finds himself going to the playoffs this weekend in Krakow. He joins us now on the analysis desk. Congratulations, first of all, Zanster. A fantastic win. Adrenaline pumping again?
Yeah, it's pumping again.
Just like the round of 32. While it's still fresh in your mind, let's jump right into that one. What a long and very, very difficult game for you, but you came out on top. Talk to us about your thoughts throughout that last map there.
I was kind of worried when he got his 5th base established, because usually on most maps you can trade with your Ultras before that, so I took some bad trades after that, but in practice I win a lot against Turtle Mech, so I'm glad I got to show it here.
I mean, were you confident knowing that MarineLorD is that type of player to bring Mech in a series like this against you? I mean, we talked about it on the desk a little bit, that is more than likely going to happen. Were you expecting the same and therefore a little bit comfortable in that regard?
Yeah, I knew he would make for sure. I was a bit worried about like Hellbat all-ins and Mind Drops and stuff, because that's usually what I lose to in practice, but he played very passive, so it worked out for me.
Jeff?
What about that moment where I think you had just lost your Ultralisk army, you had that 5th base, you made 3 drones, then 6, 2 Vipers, then there's a long pause. Were you considering then, or what was going through your mind at that time?
I didn't know if I should make Ultras or Corruptors at that point. Like, if it turtles super hard and I go Corruptor, I think it's kind of bad for me. But if it turtles super hard and I go Ultras, it's also kind of bad for me. So I just went with the Corruptors.
Well, I really like that moment, because I think there's a lot of Zergs that get to that point in time in the matchup, and they're just like, well, I can't do anything. But it looked like you kind of fought through it, and you knew about the trade game, which I thought was really cool. That's a big part of the reason why I felt you won game number 2 so handily, is he just never allowed that 5th base. And Coda is a mech TvZ map. Like, a lot of people were very certain that it's invincible. We saw a little bit more struggle with the Ravens. Do you think the Ravens are the better way to go, or is Battlecruisers kind of okay?
I think a few BCs and then Raven, for sure.
Okay.
So in your interview leading into this, the little video that everyone watched, you said, and I want to quote you here, you thought last season that you lost to people you should have beat, and this season you wanted to come into it to beat the players you think you can beat. What did you mean by that exactly?
I didn't mean just the previous season. I meant in like all the previous WCS seasons. I've lost in qualifiers to like 2 base all-ins and stuff. It's just been very frustrating for a long time.
So where do you see you? I mean, you know the players that are here. You've got the Hydras, you've got the Pulse, you've got the Lilbos and Snoots. Where do you rank yourself among them? And where do you think that you should be if you do beat the people you should beat?
It's very hard to tell because practice is different from tournaments. But usually I do very well against most Zergs and Terrans in Europe in practice.
So Protoss is
yeah,
a difficult area for you.
Basically, yeah.
I mean, let me take this approach for you. Both series today, you lose the first map, you turn it around and win 2-1 against Mana, who's of course fighting to play in front of his fans, and then MarineLorD, who was confident to win the group. How do you keep calm and turn a series around like that and not let nerves creep in and affect your game?
That happens almost in every Swedish tournament. Like, I'm 1 map from losing the series, like all 4 series in a row. So yeah.
He's got a lot of experience with it, I guess.
Turning these series around. Let's talk about the finals, and you've made the playoffs. It's your first Premier League. I feel like we're doing the same interview we did in the round of 10. It's your first round of 32, you've made the round of 16, but you've gone through to the quarterfinals. This is huge. This is absolutely fantastic for you.
Yeah.
I mean, did you expect to be able to advance from today's group to play in the playoffs? Or?
Yeah, I thought I had a good chance. Like, I was the second favorite in my head. I thought MarineLorD was the favorite.
And are you going to be nervous on the stage in front of all these people? It's a big stage, probably the biggest stage you've played on now.
Sometimes I'm nervous in the first game, but then I usually calm down.
All right.
He doesn't strike me as a very nervous guy.
Well, really?
You seem pretty calm the whole way, man.
Yeah, usually.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, Zanster, for coming up here. Is our first place finisher from Group E. Let's take from Group A. Sorry. Let's take a look at the bracket here as we have confirmed 100%. Zanster goes through in first place, knocking MarineLorD down to the decider match, which leaves Mana and Elfie to fight. And remember, the way that we're doing this for the season finals is the next couple of games do not get played until Thursday. Welcome back to the desk here, Pig. We will be doing all groups decider and elimination matches on Thursday, which leads us to get ready for Group B. But before we get into Group B, boys...
Well, I just want to even touch on that.
Yeah.
I actually, from like the production level for fans, that's a really cool format because for us it means, okay, it's like we'll come back to those players and see, you know, they're going to revisit their life in this tournament. But as a former player, and Pig, who even just last week was a former player as well, we can tell you, holy cow, that is nerve-wracking as all get out. Like MarineLorD, he is not happy to lose that match. Like whenever a player loses, they're like, no, get me back in the booth. Like I got to play.
But sometimes it's good for you to actually take that break, right?
Exactly.
All right. Time for one last thing before we get ready for Group B. We're going into that very, very shortly here, and of course Snoot will be featuring in that group. But it's predictions. I want to come to have a look at the summary of who's doing what and so on. So let's take a look at the predictions. So far, there is one guy who's at 100%.
You know,
Rotterdam.
You know, it just kind of goes to show that in StarCraft and in life, you don't even have to know that much to be successful. Like eventually, the numbers and the stars, they all align. And look at Rotterdam. Look at where he is. And right behind him, nipping at his heels, is Kalaris, who is a long time. Many people call him the historian of StarCraft. He's one of those guys that's just a knowledge base. And then there's the rest of us. At least there's no 0%. I would feel we almost came close to that. That would have been rough.
Everyone's got one right. And then, of course, what a way to start this. We'll be keeping track of that throughout the week here. Of course, we'll be going into Group B very, very shortly. Rotterdam cannot stay on top.
We all have in common that we doubted Zanster, and Rotterdam and Kalaris share the commonality of they actually believed in Zanster. Kalaris a little bit less, but still. Rotterdam voted Zanster, and that carried him to victory.
Thank you very much, boys, for everything here on the desk. It's time to go to a very quick break. Before that, of course, do remember that on Sunday, we are having the world premiere for the Legacy of the Void cinematic. That's going to be awesome. It's Sunday, 7 p.m. local time. Do not forget about that. We'll be following and tracking that throughout the week. Of course, join us on all the social media aspects. But now it's time to go to a break. When we come back, Group B opens up. Can Snoot make it to BlizzCon? He's got a lot of work to do, and it starts right now.